Hello everybody, welcome to the Tuesday show here on twitch.tv/UltraChen TV. My name is James Chen.
Hey, I'm Ultra David. How's everybody going?
How's it going out there? And wow, my water bottle is miraculously cutting through your arm. I don't know how that's happening.
Oh, yeah, I had surgery recently, and part of it is that there's now a new hole in my arm. It's okay, I'll be alright, but that is part of the process.
Do we have all new notifications here or something all of a sudden? I just saw the subscription notification came up all green.
Oh, yeah. That did happen.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out how to make it, like, have multiple different ways to do that. Anyway, I didn't figure it out, so yeah, heads up.
Okay, good to know.
Anyway, how's it going, everybody? Alright, it's Tuesday show. My bad for not having a Tuesday show last week, but somebody I'm married to had a birthday last week, and so, you know, we had to do all sorts of birthday stuff. You know how it is. I mean, it's, you know, sorry,
man.
Right?
I need, like, is there a way that I can get more of your chest into the shot by any chance? Or just sit up in your chair, maybe? You know, quote, sit up in your chair.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh, dang. Oh, look at that. Dude, nice. Okay, that actually worked great.
I just leaned back a little bit. So.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. There we go. Okay. There we go. There, now.
Just leaning back slightly. All right,
Yeah,
cool. Well, anyway. So, look, again, it's my bad for not having the Tuesday show last week. We ate the best cake, and I put myself in that conversation as somebody who actively partook in it. When in reality, Kelly,
cake?
my wife, made a fantastic cake. It was super cool and gigantic, and it looked just like a geode. It was remarkable and extremely good.
I mean, the thing about
anyway, that was my last Tuesday.
That's the thing, is that you eat cake all the time, so you probably are a pretty good connoisseur of good cake at this point.
Well, she would not tell you that, but but yeah, I definitely know more about cake than I ever did before. That's for sure. And it was awesome.
Yes.
But anyway, that was last week, and so now we're here this week, and we have some news to catch up on.
Yes.
Now, not a lot of stuff is happening, right? But, you know, certainly some stuff happened last week that we're going to cover, as well as some stuff this week as well.
I do want to give you a shout out, though. I really do appreciate that you're trying to do this homage to the Beatles with your haircut right now, you know?
James, I haven't had a haircut in the year 2020.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Holy crap.
My actual plan was to get my haircut after Final Kombat, which was the beginning of March.
Right.
And I got home from Final Kombat and the world shut down. Right then. So I'm out of luck. It's been since November of 2019 that I've had a haircut, and I'm just at this point I'm just going all into it. I mean, I took a shower a little bit ago, and I didn't even really comb it. I'm just letting it do whatever it likes to do. Look at this guy. It's all over the place here.
I mean, your cats, they have claws, right? So maybe they can try to help cut your hair a little bit. Or
well,
something.
I mean, we do have scissors. You know, humans own those things, but it's okay. That's all right. It's all right. I'm not against it. We'll see how it turns out.
Fortunately, I got my haircut almost right before the shutdown happened, but my hair grows fast, so it won't be long before it'll get that way. Speaking of the Beatles.
Yeah, for sure.
It won't be long, yeah. Anyways,
well, all right, look, let's get to the topics a little bit here. We're going to briefly talk about some stuff. There are still some cancellations and postponements going down.
Yeah.
Still not everything is done with yet. But then we'll talk about game stuff. You know, we've had feedback about the show over the last few weeks as we've all been in this weird coronavirus time. And people, you know, like that we do talk about the things that are going on. But in addition, I understand that most people would like us to talk about games and have this be more of an escape. And I totally get that. So we'll spend quite a bit of time talking about StrIVe and other game news. We'll talk about some 5-5 matchup topics that I think are kind of fun. We'll talk about some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
There's other game news. There's some community news to get to as well. And that'll be the show.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, this whole coronavirus thing is kind of at the forefront of everything.
Of course.
So it's kind of impossible not to talk about.
Of course.
So, it's going to be a topic no matter what. Dang. So, that's the thing. It's like I'm terrified of this prospect of potentially me having to cut my own hair at one point in time.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see how long it lasts.
That should be fun for me.
As far as this last couple of weeks in terms of cancellations and postponements, to no surprise, the Intel World Open is postponed until 2021. Already, the Olympics were postponed, right? And if the Olympics are going to be postponed, this event, which was going to have Street Fighter and Rocket League, timed along with the Olympics in Japan, we all expected that to also get postponed. So not a big surprise that it actually would.
God, you know what? I mean, I actually agree with Paulo in the chat, saying that it felt like Final Kombat shutdown stuff felt like almost like a year ago already.
It's wild. The amount of time that has gone by is not actually that much, but it just feels like a really long time. Yeah. Thanks to Fonte7686 for the sub, 9 months in a row. Much obliged. Yeah, it's true. It feels like it's been quite a while, but no, we've just been stuck in our apartments, and I think that makes it feel like a lot of time has passed. Well, that and the news is just so dense, right? It feels like every single day there's so much stuff to digest.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, the past maybe few days, I've been really feeling the cabin fever, but I think a lot of that also just came like before, Olaf and I would just go out and grab food every once in a while, and you would get out of the house and you would be getting a chance to chat with somebody else. Well, he's been, with his girlfriends for the past few days, and I just literally haven't left my house at all, and I think the cabin fever really just started getting to me because the last couple of days have been rough, man. But, intentionally, yesterday I drove out to go get fast food. Today I went out and did some shopping and stuff like that. So hopefully, going out and getting a little bit of the sun, might be kind of nice. So
yeah, we've been taking walks. We have been at least trying to be outside a little bit. My wife read outside for a little while earlier today on our balcony. We're not putting ourselves in contact with people, but we are at least trying to, get a little bit of sun, get a little bit of exercise, do at least something. My brother and his wife took a drive around San Francisco, where they live, not to do anything, but literally they were in their car driving around.
Just to get out.
I feel like that's like 100 years ago thing, like when cars were new and you would just like get in the car and wow, we just drive around and it's a blast. But they did it again, and they actually enjoyed it, and they sent us pictures. We check out the sights in San Francisco. We were like, we've been there, okay. But to them, since they've been inside for so much, it just feels good to be outside, even if they're not actually outside, they're in their car.
I gotta do something with that, because like I said, I have been getting cabin fever pretty badly, and just like I said, I've felt a lot of motivation just drop in the last couple of days, 2 or 3 days. Just like everything just feels is starting. I don't know, like, not to be super depressing. I know we didn't want to be depressing or whatever, but it just started to feel like,
speak honestly,
like everything just started kind of feeling almost kind of pointless. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's just like I just wasn't sure, what I was doing, and it's like, what's the point of streaming? What's the point of playing Street Fighter 5? All these things, and it was just like, it's hard. It's hard right now, and trying to figure out how to make it through this kind of thing. And
it's not been easy for me either. I've had the same sort of feelings where, look, I really like my favorite fighting games right now are Mortal Kombat 11 and Street Fighter 5. I haven't played them in a little while, and it's just because I feel like I haven't been in a good state of mind for competing. I've been playing a lot of Killer Instinct. It's not really the same sort of, like, I'm at a very learning basic level with that game, and I'm okay with that. But if I were to try to put my mind towards, like, really competing in something right now, I think I wouldn't do well. And knowing that I wouldn't, and if I didn't do well, that would make me feel worse mentally. So I'm focusing my mental efforts, more on maybe learning something new. I've been playing a lot of Doom instead, like not even playing fighting games at all. Because, I've been in this kind of weird mental funk, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but for me, when I compete in a game and I try to take it seriously, but I feel like I'm not doing well at taking it seriously, that even makes me feel worse.
Right.
So, I haven't been playing my favorite games lately, and it's a bummer to not play them, but I think that's probably the right call for my mental state right now.
Yeah, I wonder if that might be something that's affecting me, because like I said, I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter V, and I just keep getting mad when I play the game. I also think it just happens because I'm not using the easiest character in the game, to be honest. I almost feel like I should just go learn Colleen or G or something like that, just so I can beat up on people and feel good.
Well, I think G does take a lot of time to learn, but yeah, I mean there are certainly better characters who are easier.
Yeah, it's just, Lucia is one of those characters that doesn't have the built-in mix. It's not like you're gonna be able to try to autopilot some Laura stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's none of that. So
Laura also takes a long time to learn, though.
Yeah, they all take a long time. But the thing is, what it is that Lucia has no scrub killing. I guess that's the best way to put it. She doesn't have a scrub killing tactic.
Not a scrub buster.
Yeah, she doesn't have a scrub buster where a lot of other characters do, right? So at that level, you can kind of just get away with doing so. Obviously, once you get to the highest level, they're all equally as hard. And I actually think Lucia becomes stronger at the highest levels because she has the real tricks, and you can use those, but all those tricks are super high risk, and you've got to be able to play people who have the idea of trying to adjust, and sometimes when you play online, people don't adjust.
Definitely right.
And there's no way to do any sort of like I said, there's no scrub busting with her. She doesn't have a scrub buster, which is the hardest thing. So,
well, look, people are playing Animal Crossing for a reason right now. People are playing Doom Eternal for a reason right now. Final Fantasy, right? The remake just came out. All that stuff is really popular right now, and it's not unrelated to this. I mean, we are not the only people who are feeling this weird malaise when it comes to playing games competitively. And I think one of the best ways to deal with it is to not play games competitively, even if you feel like that's what you prefer. Certainly my preference is to play games competitively, but I don't think now is a great time for that. So I did not enter the Coliseum Mortal Kombat weekly.
Okay.
Over the weekend. There's a online local, of course, but a local for Street Fighter V tonight. That the Worlds Collide, like the dudes who hang out there, are putting together. On Thursday, we're gonna have the Valley Combat online local as well. And while I'm gonna be streaming that on this channel, I don't know that I'm gonna play because again, I'm kind of in this funk when it comes to feeling like whether I want to actually compete.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's weird.
Hey, Paco, I think that sounds really great. I mean, that kind of thing sounds like it would totally make sense, and like it would be a great use of time. Just being with your daughter, watching her play games, for sure. I've been watching people play games a lot. I've been watching other stuff. I've been reading a bunch. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of other stuff that I do if I don't feel like I can compete. And again, not necessarily just in tournament, but the mindset of wanting to play for real and of wanting to really get points on ranked, and just that mindset is something that I feel like I'm not really in right now. So I'm trying to do other stuff instead. I briefly played Honda for a little while. I briefly played Baraka for a little while, and those are the characters I feel most comfortable with in their respective games. But I didn't do great, and I came away from one of the times I played Baraka thinking does spines suck? But no, they definitely are really good. And while the rest of the character I'm not convinced is terribly strong, the spines are definitely good. And yet I still came away from that time thinking maybe they suck. And I even thought for a while I was playing Honda, I was like, EX butt slams kind of not that great.
No.
I'm serious. That thought went through my mind.
Because as soon as you said Honda, I was like, don't say EX Butt Slam.
As soon as that thought went through my mind, I thought to myself, hold on. What nonsense just passed between your brain? You know, and I had to like think about like, why would I even think something so silly? and I really think it's due to this mindset of just being a little bit more on the vulnerable side of things and not feeling like I can really put my all into some competitive endeavor.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, hang on a second. I'm going to lose you for 1 second because I just want to move the chat over. Okay, there we go. Honestly, I mean, even just talking to you right now already makes me feel that much like more like interactive, and I can get a little bit more. You know, it's just nice having someone to talk to. God damn it.
I do totally understand. On Saturday, my family and I had Passover. Okay, so typically what that entails is my two brothers and their wife and girlfriend come back to my parents' home. My wife and I go to our parents' home, and we're all there. And you know, they make a nice big meal, and Passover service includes what's called Seder. It's a whole ritual that involves everybody reading stuff and talking about stuff and eating. And we couldn't do any of that stuff this time. So instead, we each separately made food, whatever dinner we were gonna make, and we just got together and hung out. And you know, my parents read part of that service, but you know, it wasn't what we normally did because it just wasn't available. But it was still important to try to talk and catch up with each other and see what's going on. And my college friends and I have had a weekly Zoom chat on Saturdays.
Oh, really? Dang.
And
okay.
I mean, we're spread all over the place. Some of us are still on the West Coast. Some of us now live on the East Coast. One of us now lives in the UK and one in Morocco.
So why is everybody using
we
Zoom
get
now?
At this time that like fits for all of us. For me, it's at noon. For the guy in Morocco, it's at 9 p.m. Right? It's just the time that sort of works for everybody, and we get together and hang out for a couple hours.
Why is it?
Yeah, just having somebody to talk to is really important.
Why is everybody using Zoom now? How did Zoom get so popular? I'd never heard of Zoom until this quarantine, and now everybody's using it.
I had heard of it, and I don't know. I'd love to know why it became so popular so suddenly. All I know is that on my end, one of my friends was like, "Hey, I got an account on Zoom, and we can all talk through it. You want to do that?" And we were like, "I guess." Well, actually, I was like, "Why don't we use Discord? Aren't you guys on Discord?" And they're not gamers really in the same way, so. They were like, "What do you mean? What's Discord?" And I was like, "Okay."
Okay, fair. Fair. Yeah, so, I mean, I haven't played... God, have I played any single-player games? I have not. I've basically not been playing anything except for Street Fighter V recently. Oh, I guess, Final Fantasy Record Keeper, but even that was stressing me out yesterday. 2 days ago, I think. I was having trouble killing something. But, I don't know. It's like this is the one time in my life that I'm really, really sad that I don't like Final Fantasy VII as much as everybody else does. Because, God, I wish I could just be having so much fun with that game right now. But the problem is, like, I see, like, I know how people are with, like, Tifa and Aerith, and, like, I just, like, they're not even, like, close to remotely even the best characters in Final Fantasy history, and everybody loves, and Cloud is not even really that exciting, and I'm just like, damn it, like, I want to play this game so I can be like, yes, Tifa, yes, Aerith, but, like, I can't bring myself, like, if it was 6, and it was just, like, Cyan, and Terra, and Celeste, and Kefka, and Saban, I'd just be like, yo, like, going nuts, but, like, I can't get myself hyped for Tifa, and Aerith, and Cloud, I don't know. Yeah, I know they're more fleshed out now. But still, it's like...
I never played Final Fantasy VII.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't own a PlayStation? Are you serious? I'm not made of money. I mean, come on. We had Nintendo stuff, and then we got the Sega consoles when those came out. I didn't have a PlayStation.
Yeah.
I didn't own a PlayStation until... the very end of PS2.
And yeah, see,
So,
that's the whole
I've
thing.
been thinking about getting it just to enjoy it, but I won't get the previous references or anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sitting here, like, I see all the clips of Jesse now, and now all of a sudden Jesse, Biggs, Wedge, and, you know, all those guys are, like, more significant major characters and all this stuff, and I was just like, you know, I don't know, it's just something about it is, like, I don't know, and, like Sephiroth is like the most overhyped FF villain, you know, like, I don't know. I could never get into it the same way that everybody else is. I am a Final Fantasy hipster, dude.
I think you're a Final Fantasy hipster.
I came from 6, which was one of my 3 greatest video games of all time. And then you played 7, and every character was the exact same. They just used a different weapon, but you put the same damn materia on everything. And it was really boring. I don't know. And the plot like stopped 2/3 of the way through the game when you get when you get the spoiler or when you get the big reveal, which was cool. Then after that, nothing happens for like the last third of the story except you just keep chasing a ghost. And like I don't know, like I just didn't get that excited with it.
Well, I'm planning to try the remake. I've just been cracking out on Doom, but yeah, I'm definitely planning to try the remake as well.
Yeah, I might have to actually play.
You should just give it a look.
I mean, I might actually have to play it just because everybody's playing it, and it's like I feel so left out that I'm not playing it at all. But you know, like it's Final Fantasy VII might be kind of like the Uncharted of Final Fantasy games. Like the gameplay mechanics are actually really subpar. People really are way too obsessed with the story, which actually isn't even that good. And yeah, like that's just kind of what it is. Now I'm dogging on Uncharted too.
I've never played the Uncharted game.
Okay, the new combat system is pretty good. Everybody's saying, okay.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. Before you get everybody to leave the stream. So,
fair.
In conclusion, yeah, I do think that it's worth not playing games that you feel like you need to be on mentally for. And again, that's not just maybe Street Fighter V is one for you, but it sounds like from your description maybe it's the same for Tekken. You know, just games that you need to really be thinking well for. And now for me now is not that time. So I've been going to other games instead. I've been, like I said, I've been reading. I've been doing other stuff as well instead.
Yeah, I've been trying
That's how I've been taking care of myself.
What the heck? Oh, man.
Well, that, and by eating homemade caramels like these.
Homemade caramels, huh? Nice, okay. I've just been eating nothing but, like, you know, blueberry loaves and Doritos and, you know, TV dinners up the ass right now. So hang on a second.
With Malden salt.
Oh, my cats have gotten into some ketchup packets, apparently. Ugh.
Wow, that is so tasty. And I've also been eating homemade bread and homemade kumquat jam or preserves or something.
Look at this.
And also cake.
Look at this. I don't know.
And brownies and dinner rolls and biscuits and
this is my ketchup.
I don't know. The
packet.
list is actually too long. Marmalade was what it was. Yeah. No, I'm. What are you showing? I mean, as I can see, you are showing ketchup.
It's a ketchup packet full of holes.
I see it. Pretty weird.
It's a ketchup packet full of holes. And that means my cat got into it and started eating, because there's ketchup stains on my carpet too. And I have no idea how they got into that.
Look, I may be turning into a hippie, not cutting my hair, but I am showering, all right? I'm actually keeping up a really good schedule on that stuff. I'm taking care of myself for this.
See, I love Final Fantasy VIII. I actually really enjoyed Final. Now, of course, everybody's right that the draw system sucks. If they could actually tweak the draw system to be something a little more interesting, that would be cool. But I love the story of 8. I was such a fan of the story of 8, so...
Anything else to mention in terms of how you're dealing with the coronavirus stuff right now?
I did see Onward, by the way, which was out on Disney Plus now.
Okay, what did you think?
Have you seen it yet?
We watched the first 15 minutes, and then my wife decided that she didn't want to watch the rest.
What? No.
So we watched. I believe we watched Harry Potter. I believe it was the first one that we watched instead of that at that time. And we've now watched, I think, 4 of the movies so far in our little time. But yeah, I'd like to go back and watch it. I thought the intro seemed like it was interesting.
Dude, it's so good. By the end of the movie, like, I would probably say for like the last 10, 15 minutes of the movie, I was bawling like a mess. Like, I was
I think that may have been why she didn't want to watch the rest. Because it was like pretty clearly heading in that direction, and she was like, well, I'm out of here.
Oh, really?
And I was like, fair enough.
I thought she just didn't like all the Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
Oh, no.
No, okay. She just didn't want to get emotional, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just watched like an old Harry Potter movie. Like I said, I think it was the first one, which is also like the least... It's like the most kidsy version.
You know, I could actually ruin the first and second movies for you because my friend did this to me. And he basically said, you know, if they just cut out all the reaction shots from the kids, the movies would be like half an hour shorter. Because everything that happens in the movie, cut to Ron. Something happens, cut to Hermione. Something happens, cut to Harry. Yeah. Like everything is just a reaction.
Anyway, the series ended up being good. But yeah, the beginning was whatever. All right, man. Let's move on to topics.
Okay. Hang on. Since we're in the discussions of like what your thoughts of Final Fantasy games are, which Harry Potter movie is the best Harry Potter movie?
I mean, it's the last 2. One of them.
The last 2? Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. The correct answer is the third one. It's just Prisoner of Azkaban. So.
No, we just watched it. It's fine, but it's
the best directed one. It has the best director, and that one is the one that's like the most well done. But anyways, okay.
Whatever. The stories get better afterward. All right, let's move on. So like I said, the Intel World Open postponed. No surprise on that front. For the Dragon Ball FighterZ World Tour, they put out a message, and again, nothing surprising really, but and not saying exactly that it would be fully canceled or anything. Just saying. I'm getting the quote here. Due to the highly dynamic nature surrounding coronavirus, we have not been able to announce details regarding the Dragon Ball FighterZ World Tournament. We are considering all possibilities and options, etc., right? So they're not saying much, but they're just sort of letting you know that, yeah, hey, we're here, like we're paying attention to this stuff. I'm sure they would like to have it at the end of the year. As we've mentioned before, at least maybe the CPT might happen the second half of the year. They're leaving that possibility open. So we'll see if that's what Dragon Ball FighterZ goes with, but to be expected that there wouldn't be anything in terms of news for right now.
Yeah, and I even had on one of my streams an exclusive from Mr. Wizard. I told him, you don't have to say anything about EVO. I know everyone's going to ask you about it, and he actually said we're keeping a very, very close eye on it. So yeah. I'm pretty sure EVO is going to be done this year. I just have this feeling that it's going to be done.
I think you're right.
So, and to be honest with you, even Jabali, he's been putting out the feelers for running CEO in December.
Yeah.
Are we even going to be done by December? Right?
We have no idea how this thing is going to go. We just
the U.S.
can't predict the future, so who knows?
The number of cases in the U.S. is skyrocketing. New York has more confirmed cases than any other country. New York has more cases than any other country. But according to, people in charge of our country, they're handling it better than any other country. They're handling it clearly.
It's really sad.
The best. No other country has been handling it as well in the history of countries.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that I just can't laugh about anymore. It's too stupid and too consequential at this point.
It's like I feel like I have to laugh about it. Otherwise, I would absolutely just be curled up in the corner right over there in the fetal position behind you, and you would just be hearing me yelling from behind you all day.
Well, relatedly, BlueJ passed away. The
Yes.
other big news, at least among people that I know, Josemiguel Henriquez, he was 37. He passed away. He passed away from coronavirus. Or from COVID-19, I should say. I didn't know him personally. I met him, I believe, one time, but he's been in the community forever, and huge pillar in the Marvel 2 community and in the New York scene, not just for Marvel 2, but certainly the confluence of those two, a huge impact on it. Close friends with, all of the old school New York players, and not just with those guys, but with many of the players across the Eastern Seaboard who, of course, over the years traveled and saw each other many, many times. So that's a huge hit, a huge impact for people.
He's the person whose home was where Battle for the Battle of the Greatest took place, right?
Yeah, Battle of the Strongest.
Battle of the Strongest, yeah.
House. Yes,
I mean,
correct.
let's put it this way: when he passed away, my Facebook feed was flooded with people who were just completely devastated. I mean, to give you a scope of the impact that he had and the kind of person he was and how many people whose lives he touched, Right. I saw so many of those old school MVC2 players just, absolutely, like I said, devastated. And I saw it all on Twitter as well. So, right. Obviously, he's not the first in the FGC, to have passed away, but, he's definitely just one of those guys that affected so many people and touched so many people's hearts and did so much for the community, and clearly just a good person. So,
yeah, I'm. The other person I know that we've talked about who passed away was Romeo Castillo Jr., aka 2101 UK, in the UK.
Yes.
Know that he passed away. Those are the two that I'm aware of. But though I don't know everybody in the FGC, of course, it's huge, and I hope that there will not be many more, but it's hard to imagine that could be true. I know now many people who have had it and have gotten through it, or who, have most likely had it, have had symptoms that were the symptoms, but just haven't been able to get tested. So yeah, I mean, it's very close to home. So again, I didn't know him personally, but still really sad to hear about BlueJ passing away. With that in mind, Chris Matrix is a close friend of his. Putting this in the chat, put up a GoFundMe for funeral services for him, and it has been supported pretty well, which I'm glad to see. As far as with all these things relating to giving money right now, if you can, that'd be great. Don't do it if it's something that you would fear could make you not be able to pay your own bills coming up. I mean, it's a tough time for lots of people for many different reasons. But if you can afford to, so he, again, somebody who was very impactful in the FGC and is gone way too soon. Yeah,
and from those pictures and everything like that, I'm pretty sure he was one of Matrix's groomsmen as well. So it's yeah. I mean, I know when that happened, and like you said, I don't even know him personally. I didn't know him personally, but. Like I said, you can just tell from the response of the news what kind of person he was, and it's just like that was one of the things that really kind of like made it hard for me to get through the weekend this past weekend. So
definitely
it was just
as the Body Boy says in chat, every episode of No Frills podcast that Yipes and Matrix have done, they talk about him in like some way,
right?
Right, and my understanding was that he was involved with the creation of that. Find a new rival. So he's been not just again very impactful in previous times and with Battle of the Strongest, but I think that he was involved with the development of the No Frills podcast. In any case, good friend to a lot of people, and he's passed away. So, condolences and thoughts go out to everybody involved. All right, man. You want to move on from coronavirus stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about something else because I think I
No,
need
it's
to.
tough. That's tough news for sure.
Yeah.
So, let's get to the next thing up here, which is going to be the Guilty Gear StrIVe beta.
Yes.
Guilty Gear StrIVe beta. Now, it's on PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
And it officially starts
tomorrow
Japan time.
Right.
So the timeline is this. So on April the 15th in Japan, you can download it if you're somebody who got into the beta. Then the next day you can play it offline, and then the next 3 days you can play it online. So 15th is when you download it, which is now in Japan. Then the next day, April 16th, offline. Then 17th through the 19th, you can play online. This does not have rollback netcode, right? But again, it's just the beta. They're testing it out for whatever reason, and the final version will have rollback netcode, but this one will not.
Streaming is allowed, not Miki. They've already put an announcement out there that everyone is allowed to stream it. Some people, I guess there was a mistake in EU or UK where some people were able to play it right away.
Yep, in the EU, yep.
And so there was definitely some leaked footage and everything. So they did say it was going to be a new UI. The UI isn't drastically changed, and it's still it's
like
still
technically it's new.
Yeah, still not what a lot of people like, and you can tell that they're trying to do something very different and make things very obvious to viewers out there, to casual. They're trying to make it as spectator friendly as possible, but in a weird way making it kind of very spectator and player unfriendly.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I would say it's unfriendly. The information moving along with how much your characters has taken damage is weird. I haven't seen a game like that before, and like on purpose, right? Because I think everybody previously, that they cannot be the first people who've thought of that, right? But everybody else who's thought about it has realized that wouldn't be a good idea, because people come to depend on looking for that kind of information at the same spot every time, right? You just train your eyes to look over there. Like in each game, you learn, okay, this is where the meter is, this is where that other meter is, right? Like this is where the character name is. Like you look for that whenever you play a new game, and this one's gonna have it moving. It is weird.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I mean, I agree with a lot of people in the chat. It just feels like they're trying a bunch of almost kind of random things in there. And I almost feel like maybe that's what this new beta is for, just so they can get even more feedback on that, because it sounds like they're willing to try to change a lot of things. But this is getting kind of weird, to be honest. And I don't know. Like, hopefully they'll try to tweak it. I know someone put on our timelines. They tagged us with a Photoshop mock-up of what they thought it should look like. And yeah, I mean, it looked more natural. It looked like what you've seen before with the burst meter being big and exactly where you think it is. So, I'm not a fan of the UI. Like, I don't even mind the big giant counter word. I don't even mind the giant combo counter.
I agree with you. Yeah.
It's the HUD. The HUD is the biggest problem, to be honest with you. So I'm not a fan of it, and you still can't see the risk gauge. Like, the risk gauge is way too small for something that's so important into the game. But
you can see it more.
Yeah, you can see it more, but I just feel like.
But no, I mean, you're right though. It could definitely be better for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully they work on that, but. During that time when the game was like accidentally out for EU players for a little while, there was some footage recorded and uploaded, and what I saw that was most interesting, I feel like probably most people feel the same, was that Faust's animations are so cool. So cool looking. Don't you think?
I haven't seen a lot of the footage yet. I haven't seen a lot of...
Well, there's not like a lot of footage.
Right. But I mean, I thought Faust looked super sick from the trailer too. So
he did.
The whole thing, I mean, when I did the analysis over Zato and Milia, like you can kind of tell that they were showing some of the characters in kind of the order that they developed them, because even Milia is a character that since the inception of Guilty Gear, she was in the very first Guilty Gear, I have never had any inkling of interest in Milia. She's always been a super boring character because I think characters who fight with their hair is stupid, you know, and
What specific complaint?
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems really I mean, the only good one was Blue Suede Goo, okay? I mean, that's...
Okay, yep, a classic.
That's the only one I'll accept. Hey, wash the hair, man. You know, that's the only one that I'll accept, but... You know, I've never been interested in Milia, but then the way they did her in this game, like when her hair attacks you, it's always in line with like her leg, she's always like kicking with the hair, and it's like perfect arc of motion, you know, the animation, you know, tactic of having that perfect line of motion, and just all the stuff they did with her. And then, like I said, Zato and Eddie, God, Eddie has never looked better before, and
absolutely,
you know, it started with Faust. Like, all the other characters look like, okay, here's just this really strangely roided out version of what we remembered them to be. And,
yeah, that's true, yeah.
And then, but they mostly looked kind of the same, just better. But then Faust was the first one that just came out, and you were like, oh my God, he is the coolest looking character everywhere. So
so cool, yeah. Look, I don't know enough about Gear to say anything about how Faust's moves look or whether they were different at all. I don't know, but they looked awesome. I know that much. I'm really excited to see how he looks.
Yeah.
By the way, I think, I agree with you that all the previous characters did look roided out. Yeah, Chip is like very thick and it's weird,
it's
and
strange.
That's what I felt about Soul and Kai. I think they all look. I didn't like it. Even Axel. I didn't particularly like it. I mean, the graphics are phenomenal, but like, you know, the sort of wideness of the characters, I was like, I don't know if I like this. Then Faust looks fantastic, but it makes sense on Potemkin. Eddie, Milia, all look super, super cool.
Yeah, I do admittedly like older May a lot better too.
Older May, you're right. Older May is awesome.
I do like older May a lot better.
I agree with that.
You know, Anti-Particle in the chat asks, will we try it? I have a beta code. I'm planning.
I got a beta code.
What's that?
I have a beta code
sweet.
as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm planning to crack out on it, to be honest with you. I'm gonna play it a lot when it's out for beta. I'm gonna be basically streaming it like constantly, so we'll see how that goes.
I mean, what else am I doing this weekend? I'm not doing anything.
Oh man, God.
I'll definitely try it out for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Soul's Wild Throw does a grip of damage because you can't combo off of it anymore. They're just trying to fix the damage of what you should have gotten off of the Wild Throw, but it does a ton of damage. It's kind of ridiculous,
So the playable characters in this are Soul, Kai, May, Faust, Potemkin, Chip, and Axel. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So no Zato and no yet.
Yep. But
It looks great. It looks super cool.
Yeah,
I'm down to stream some online sets. I'm sure James is going to dunk me because he has experience in Gear, but that's totally fine.
Dude, it's a brand new game. It barely plays like it used to, right? So we'll see.
In any case, man, I mean, you know, regardless, I'm definitely down to play.
Hard part is right now, you've caught me at my low. I think I'm just like terrible at everything right now, so, you know.
That's definitely not true. Okay.
I feel like I'm the guy who's in Super Platinum complaining about how bad I am in Street Fighter right now.
Yeah,
so.
Come on. You're getting there.
Ugh.
You're getting there. Anyway, yeah. There you go. It comes out. It's downloadable now if you got into the beta. And then it's playable offline the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is tomorrow, I guess, I will be just trying it out in training mode, seeing what the characters do. Among that list, I mean, part of why I didn't play Guilty Gear is that I didn't feel like I cared about any of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And the natural ones for me, I've always felt would be Potemkin and Axel. And I just didn't. There was something about the way they played when I watched other people play was just not. I don't know. I couldn't get into it. So I'll try those two again because that just seemed to me like they're the ones that fit me the best. But in talking with other people and watching Xrd, I kind of felt like the character I should have played was Soul, which felt weird. But I don't know. Anyway, we'll see how I like Potemkin and Axel.
Yeah, it's always a tough thing. We've talked about it before because when Potemkin first came out, he was the coolest design for a grab. He had an anti-air grab. He had an ability to flick fireballs and make a better projectile. He had the slide head. He had a cancelable dash, a hammer fall with armor. Sure. Like, he was so cool.
Big button, right?
Yeah.
Heavy slash, big range. Like, it was unique for sure. Mm-hmm. But since then, that has become much less unique. And I'd really like to see... Well, I mean, I would want to play a different character. For fans of Potemkin, I don't want him to change too much, But my preferences are for the weirder stuff, typically. And I feel like he's not there. But I'll definitely give it a go.
That's actually a good point. Have you ever thought about trying Faust?
I like the idea of managing the randomness of the items. But I think the rest of the character doesn't make much sense for me. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
it also seems like the kind of character that I need to put in a tremendous amount of time in to like actually be viable with, and I just wasn't interested enough to do that.
No, technically, Faust doesn't have a command grab. It's an unblockable. Not quite the same thing, but they called it that because you could burst out of it in the older games for no reason. I already am probably pretty sure that they are not going to put Johnny in the game. My cat is sitting at the window right now. She's like basting in the sun and her eyes were closed and she was just like... And it was the most adorable looking thing. Well, now that I've moved, she's looking at me. So anyways.
Aww.
Yeah, but
why no Johnny? Why don't you think he's there?
I don't know. It's just because he didn't show up in Xrd right away. And he's one of those characters that I feel like is one of those we can put him as DLC to bring people back kind of things, Yeah. So, but I hope he's in the game because, again, there's very few characters. The scary thing right now is if they put Johnny in the game, with the way the game has gone, will they remove missed cancels? Because if they remove missed cancels, that'll be a problem. Because that is absolutely the most enjoyable factor of Johnny is the missed canceling. So hopefully that doesn't happen. So all right, a lot of people are saying that they're pretty confident Johnny's in the game. I hope you guys are right, man. I hope you guys are right.
Yeah, as an outside observer, I feel that Johnny's like a core Guilty Gear character.
I would have thought that too until Xrd Sign, okay?
I know.
When Xrd Sign came out and there was no Johnny and I had to use crappy Potemkin. But hey, now I can use Potemkin that will do 80% damage on a command grab, so...
We'll see. Alright, well, we'll both be streaming that.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about it?
Not that I can think of.
Alright, man. Well, do you want to take a break then?
Sure. Let's take a break and we'll come back with some 5-5 stuff. A lot of interesting questions this time. So.
Indeed.
All right. Be right back, guys. Oh boy. Dude, I would really want Bridget back. I really enjoyed using Bridget in XX. I thought Bridget was a very, very creatively designed character. I've always liked the way that he played, just like the whole way that you use the yo-yo was super fascinating. I could never quite get Bridget as strong as the strongest Bridget players because Bridget's just one of those characters that you get good at through so much experience. What are you talking about, Hanzo? Are you just talking about the Guilty Gear website? You just like what they've put out, basically? Zappa's a tough one for me. Because, UltraChen TV, gotcha. Fair enough. Zappa's a tough one for me because while I love Zappa's design, in XX, Zappa was so hard for Johnny to beat. And my friend played Zappa and I played Johnny, and I had to fight Zappa constantly. And I had just learned to hate that character with every fiber of my being because I had to play against him. Man. So is that lobby real? Was that lobby real, or was that lobby an April Fool's? I'm not even sure. And the name of the song is at the top of the screen. Choco Love. You can see it's Gathers Under Night Chill remix by Akito Loves Music, who is also a Grand Blue Fantasy Versus streamer as well. Oh, no worries. It's hard to see those kind of text like that. It's real, huh? Man. Yeah, they're trying to do a lot of weird things, and apparently it's all kind of backfiring, which is really sad for me because obviously the game having rollback netcode is super important, and I really want the game to succeed to show people that rollback netcode's valuable. But if it comes out and people don't like it, and people hate the lobby, and they don't like the UI, or they find some sort of weird MVCI excuse to hate on the game, and it doesn't sell, then Japan might attribute that to rollback netcode didn't do anything for us, didn't help anybody, and that's actually kind of scary, Right, that's the whole hope, kana, is that, with the survey, that they will be able to take the feedback and fix a lot of things, so. Oh, they didn't stop supporting DOA until the most recent patch, and so that's this patch that I think just came out, and now I think they're done. I think they're done with it, so. I mean, I don't think it's a terrible idea, Invader Taco. Like, I think it's kind of cool to have that kind of pixel art kind of thing. Obviously, I'm old school, so I love that kind of thing. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, but I know a lot of people out there just don't like it at all. Frankly, I don't see anything particularly bad about it. I think it's cute. I think it's a nice touch. But I don't know. Yeah, that's the only question right there, iPhantom99, is it out of place? Does it not mix with everything else that's in the game, with how beautiful the game is and everything? Do people just want those little... Because, I mean, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus is all chibi, right? Guilty Gear Xrd was all chibi as well, right? Dragon Ball Fighters was all chibi characters. Now, they were all in 3D, and they were cel-shaded in that nice art style, so I think people liked it a lot more than the pixel one.
All right.
Different styles in one game. Does it? Does it have 4 different styles? Like, I can only see 2 of them. Well, Drunken Banana, I don't like their menus, but I love their lobbies. So in Xrd and in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, I love their lobbies, but I did not like BB Tag, and I did not like Dragon Ball Fighters method, where that lobby was the menu. They didn't do that in Xrd. And now they went away from that in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and I prefer those much, much more. Much, much more.
All right, well, I'm good to go.
Okay. Take down the music. People at home can't see this on stream, but David is shaking his hair like a Pantene commercial right now. It's just like I almost want to have the "don't hate me because I'm beautiful" thing going with him. So
Don't tell Vicious.
Oh God. Welcome back, everybody, to the Tuesday show. I'm James Chen, and here's Ultra David with the sickest burns to people randomly.
Howdy do! Howdy do, everybody. Let's move on to the next topic here, which will be our 5-5 matchup, where we talk about stuff relating to fighting games in kind of, interesting way.
Yes.
We would, of course, we'll do the viewer's choice, but before that, I do have a couple potential topics for you.
Sure. Give them to me.
All right, man. So, obviously, there's a lot of bad stuff with respect to the coronavirus, and there are many, many more important reasons to be upset that it's going on. But, in addition to that, I think some fighting game characters could have had this 2020 as their year, and maybe some players, this could have been their year. So, which fighting game characters or players do you think lost their best chances to perform this year?
You know what? I mean, I hate that I do this a lot. I dodge answers a lot.
Oh, come on, buddy.
God, everybody in Street Fighter V. Like,
everybody?
I just had this conversation, on my stream where we tried to pick the 5 worst characters, and I came up with the Brian F list instead. I only called it Brian F because he was part of the acronym, which I did on purpose, basically. But I went through and we created this list, and seriously, the list, what did I name the list? It was like the not quite bad, but kind of okay. But, these guys are really good, but maybe there's other characters that are better, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's the thing, is like everybody who was in that discussion, in that list, for like the 10 characters that were clearly in that discussion, I would have loved to have seen all of them. Like, people are like, oh my god, Falk is so bad, and like, Falk is amazing right now, I think, and people are like, oh my god, Ryu is not very good. I think Ryu is great now, I just feel like so many... Ed had a chance to really start doing some shining,
Okay.
There's just a lot of characters that I feel like could have... Alex, Gunfight got 9th place at EVO Japan, and everyone...
fair enough.
Everyone keeps trying to say that...
won EVO Japan.
What's that?
Sakura won EVO Japan.
Sakura won EVO Japan. Sakura just won the Reddit online tournament, and second place was a Falk player. So there you go. There you go. I just feel like, however, if you want to talk about the characters that I feel like had the potential to be like, oh, this is my year, I'm going to win, the stuff like that, Chun-Li is the first one that comes to my mind.
Okay, all right.
Because I think Chun-Li is ridiculous this year. I think she's
super good.
Super good this year. So I think Chun-Li would have had a chance to shine, and I really do think Honda. I really think Honda would have had a great chance to shine this year as well, because I still feel like a lot of people are underestimating that character. So
I don't think that this was Honda's year, but not because I think the character's weak, but rather because I just don't think that many people will play him.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's
like more like that sort of player-based reason than that the character can't cut it. The characters that jump out to me is Vega.
Okay.
I think Vega players have been asking for him to be like okay for the entirety of SF5. And it's not like I didn't know any Vega player who was like, yeah, they should buff him a lot. Like all the Vega players I knew were just like, yeah, like at least like make him pretty good. Like just make him okay. And I think they did that. When Season 5 first came out, I thought that his buffs weren't enough, but the more that I see and play against Vega, the more I think that he's actually pretty good. And nobody can show that. So players who were already actually really good and were doing... Doomsnake was getting, like, grand finals and stuff. Bolt Strike is, like, super good. Yep. Like, there are these players who definitely were already making it happen. And with a character that was just pretty good. Not bad. Just pretty good. I think that this would have been the time when you would have seen Vegas, like, really do work. Because a lot of people... really like Vega, right? This is not like a Honda situation where, Honda's got his fans, but like he's not like a crowd favorite really. A lot of people like Vega. And a lot of people would like to play Vega. And now I think they can. Again, I don't think that he's like a top tier character or anything, but I think he's like pretty good now. Yeah. And that's what they wanted. And they got it now, but they just can't show it.
Yeah, I mean, Vega was in my list. He was in that list of the 10 characters who were at the bottom, you know. He was one of the ones that I really did want to see have that chance. And I mean, I said this about every character that was in that list. I was like, this character's clearly not a bottom 5 character. Like, I said that about probably every single one of the characters that were down there. I don't think there was a single character that I felt like deserved to actually be, like, there was no character that was like, well, okay, maybe it's hard to pick a bottom 5, but this guy at least is clearly in, like, there was nobody that was like that to me. And that's why I was so excited about this year, because I just felt like this was the year we were going to see some of the crazy characters do well, you know. And
yeah, I think they definitely could have. It's funny, Brookish, that you bring this up. I was just going to say, I think among the players that I think this was like their potential year, definitely MOV is on my list.
Yeah.
For sure. Because he's a Chun player, and he is a Chun player.
Yeah, also Ricky.
That's like a good character to be your character, because she's almost always good. But sometimes she's not the best, and now she's one of the best. And yeah, for sure, that was one of the guys. Nauman, I think this was the start of a big year, potentially, for Nauman, who won EVO Japan. He's the first of that young generation of Japanese players to win a major. He did it with a character that many people were still underrating. Mm-hmm. I think that guy could have had a lot of success this year as well. I think those are probably the 2 players who really jump out to me as maybe this was their potential year. But yeah, I would say the other ones that jump out to me are Bolt Strike and Doomsnick. I think those guys are out of luck that they can't travel and show off at majors this year.
Along with MOV, I was actually really looking forward to maybe what Ricky could do this year as well.
Okay, sure.
Because even she was just saying, like, because I was talking about Chun-Li on Twitter, and she was like, dude, I think Chun-Li's the best character in the game right now. She's like, you know, I never downplay my own character. And, you know, I would have loved to have seen what Ricky was able to do with that character, because I feel like that character's fundamentals shot up through the roof because she's got such an easy access to a knockdown now. Knockdown with really good Oki, by the way. So
yeah.
But, you know, obviously characters like M. Bison were going to be scary. Urien was going to be scary. Actually, I know...
That already happened.
Hasn't Problem X been using Honda as well?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, so that would have been really interesting to see if Problem X would have busted out Honda in some tournaments.
I mean, look, I think that Honda's a good character. I think that Bison is 5. So if you were going to be competing this year and your choices were, as I think they are for him, Bison, Abigail, Honda, and Alex, you're a Bison main who plays Abigail in a few matchups.
It's true.
What I would
it's true.
Say.
Yeah, that's true. As long as Bison's there, because Bison is like because all of the strengths that Honda has, Bison has too.
Yeah,
and he's
they
just
really
a better.
Similar in some ways.
He's just a better character overall. So
they really are similar in some ways.
Yeah. I feel like those 2 characters in particular probably have some of the most plus moves on block that move forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Bison's EX Scissor Kick, Psycho Axe, Honda's Hand Slap. I actually think Fong is kind of in there too, just because of Coward Crouch Kick and Standing Heavy Kick, which are, you know, a little bit, but obviously Standing Heavy Kick is only +1, so it's not enough against the 3-frame characters, but, you know, not a lot of characters have that ability to move forward and be plus like that, you know.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's so I think those are the ones that jump out to me for Street Fighter. For Mortal Kombat, which is the other game that I'm following most closely, well, people are playing anyway, right? There still are, while we would all love to have offline majors, like there still are. You can just play the game online and it's basically fine. You know what I mean? You're not losing out on a lot. There's a few frames of input differential, but it's basically the same otherwise. And there are indeed still online events. There have been some lately where a guy, this dude Prince Panther, is putting in a bunch of money into the scene to still get players paid. So, I mean, it kind of is still happening anyway. So I don't know that for Mortal Kombat, this is a year where you would say, like, any player or character is not getting the shine that they deserve, because I kind of think that it still is happening.
Right.
But it's a huge bummer for Granblue. Huge bummer for Granblue, obviously.
Yeah, I mean it's true for all the games, right? Because Sam Showdown has new characters coming out still. Soul Calibur
That's true, yeah.
just had Haomaru added to the game.
Calibur. They were going to have a pro tour this year.
Yeah, and that was
So all the Soul Calibur players, this was their year potentially.
Yeah, it was so exciting for them, and I mean, even for commentators, right? Like I obviously I talk with Ebonic Plague a lot. He was so excited this year because he was going to be able to do a lot of that Soul Calibur commentary.
Sure.
And now that's not happening, and so that's kind of rough for him as well. You know, like you said, Granblue, this is kind of rough, but for some reason I don't feel like Granblue is going to be hurt as badly just because it is really shiny and new, and you know, and Japan's internet is good. So they can actually play the game over there. So and apparently in the chat, ZXC Just says that Jesu has added Granblue Fantasy Versus.
Right.
Okay, I did not know about that. Nuki's been playing Cat. Of course Nuki's gonna play Cat. Why wouldn't he play Cat?
Sense.
That's like the perfect character for him.
That definitely makes sense.
Oh man. So yeah. Just trying to think of like some of the other games there. I mean, you know, it's rough for a game like Uniclair. Came out with a brand new version. Under Night's been on all this tear, kind of doing well at all these events, and you know, not much has been happening there. Although there is some news about Under Night that we'll get into in a little bit. So
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny, Axiom-ish. Like, I was just browsing Netflix at one point in time, and one of the things recommended to me was the Granblue Fantasy anime. And I was like, I didn't even know this was on here. Like, I would have never known what the hell this was.
I have no idea. Yep.
Yeah, now I'm just like, maybe I'll watch this. No, High Score Girl 2, sorry.
Well, all right. Anything else to say about this?
No, let's go on to the next one.
All right, so as a little bit of backstory for this next one, there was an interview with Nobuhiko Shimizu, who is the head of Capcom's Esports business division, which they created a couple years ago at this point, but there's a whole text interview with him that they put up on their website that I will put in the chat in case anybody did not see it. And, you know, it's worth reading. It's an interesting take on how Capcom is viewing esports, and in some of the things that they said, that the guy said, were that, you know, they want to get more people to watch fighting games, they want to have space, they want to make sure that people can play casually, can play competitively, and can watch, right? That sort of all these three different things can get satisfied, which is nice, that's important. But they also said he also said some other stuff. So, for example, here's a quote, right? I believe that esports has the potential to be more than a simple fad. First, compared to traditional sports, esports is more egalitarian. Everyone, regardless of physical condition or gender, can participate and compete at the highest levels of play. Capcom's been running Street Fighter tournaments for almost 30 years now. Ever since our tournament at the Ryogoku Kokugikan back in 1992. We feel a strong obligation to continue to foster esports as both an economic and cultural commodity. In that, I think he definitely implies that, like, Capcom has had a strong role in the fact of esports existing. Right?
I mean,
what do you think about that? I mean, do you feel that there has been, in fact, like, a strong role for Capcom going back to 1992, or, I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. I guess I didn't get that take from it, you know?
Okay.
I feel like he was just saying, yeah, we've had a history of running tournaments since back then. I don't know if he feels like he's trying to take credit for creating esports, because, I mean, frankly, nobody in Japan can say that. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it's just factually wrong. Because, you know, you talk about the cultural stigma of playing video games, and it's been that way forever. I mean, like, you watch High Score Girl, and all they do is just talk about arcades being full of delinquents and stuff like that, you know, because that's just kind of how it was always pictured back then. You know, as much as everybody did it, it was always viewed that way. Even when you read Daigo's book, he talks about it that way too. You know, he's always saying stuff like, oh yeah, people didn't see video games as something that was, you know, what good people and you know, like actual like studious kids did and things like that. And it was always frowned upon kind of thing. So, I mean, if anyone wants to take credit for esports, I mean, Korea's got to do it, right? So, because they were having StarCraft on TV before anyone else was even blinking about esports. To be honest with you, they were always the forerunners in that field. I mean, Street Fighter 2, the thing that I will give Street Fighter 2 credit for is bringing back the competitive video game.
Right, okay.
Because video games were all one-player affairs up until Street Fighter 2, because everyone just wanted their quarters to last as long as possible. As soon as Street Fighter 2 came out, all of a sudden, everyone became okay with spending 25 cents and losing in 2 minutes. And that was it. Like, it definitely...
25 cents in $1992 is actually quite a lot.
Yes. and especially because a lot of arcades had it 50 cents, too, to play Street Fighter 2. Yeah, honestly, like, I would credit Street Fighter for bringing back, you know, video games to the competitive era where something like Space War and Pong came from, because you couldn't design an AI that was interesting enough back then.
Right.
You know, it had to be another human opponent. But then it left that. Everybody had these, I need to play one credit and max out the score kind of thing. And then Street Fighter 2 kind of brought it back to the competitive era. Having said that, would that means we would not have had gotten like Warcraft originally and stuff? Probably. I mean, we probably would have got Warcraft no matter what, right? Honestly, you know, like I said, I don't feel like he's taking credit for creation of esports. I think he's just trying to sell the idea that, you know, Capcom has been a competitive thing for a long time. So the 1993 documentary The Wizard starring Fred Savage. The documentary starring Fred Savage. I've told you the joke before that my best friend basically said that documentaries are the biggest cinematic universe, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I like that.
And also, I always still love pointing out the fact that the redhead in The Wizard, Jenny Lewis, has gone on to have a great musical career. She was part of the band Rilo Kiley. She does her own single. She has her own solo career now. I've been to one of her concerts before, and she's awesome. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, she's really, really cool.
Okay. Well, I definitely think that they're trying to take credit for the development of esports.
Okay.
And it's just ahistorical. I mean, I don't know how else to interpret. Capcom's been running Street Fighter tournaments for almost 30 years now. As other than like they've had a strong hand in the development of tournaments, which is for sure false. It's true that every now and then, like if a new game came out, they would run a tournament. They did that as a promotion. I don't know if they did that for every fighting game that they did. I guess they didn't definitely do it for some, but they certainly did it for some. That's a very far thing from creating the infrastructure of tournaments. Very, very far thing from, you know, creating a community of players and fostering it in any way. None of us thought that Capcom knew we existed.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
we just didn't think that they even were aware that anybody played their games in tournaments. I never knew either way until Seth Killian worked there that they had ever even heard of like anything relating to tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I guess like I didn't. I read it differently. You know, like, you know, they ran. I don't feel. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of careful wording in there to basically be interpretable to those who are not in the know, but worded in such a way that it doesn't actually belie the truth. You know what I mean? And it's definitely very dodgy that way. Because yes, they ran a tournament in Champion Edition. Maybe that's it. maybe the Alpha 3 thing that they got Vi and Daigo together, but outside of those two things, like Capcom, I mean, they did something with that Street Fighter pinball machine as well that Tomo played on in America. That's right. But outside of that, Capcom hasn't done jack until the GameStop event.
The SF4 release tournament.
Yeah, the GameStop event.
But yeah, that's all I can think of until the 25th anniversary, which was in 2012, something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's a long time of developing of a scene that they just had almost nothing to do with. And I think you're right that if you know the history of this, like, you're not going to get caught off guard. This is not like a strong argument for those people, but it instead sells it as being something that is interpretable as being like Capcom did this thing if you don't really know. And I don't want them to tell that story. Like, I want it to be very clear that it was the community and not the rights holder who did these things, because if it's viewed by people who are investing in things, or I don't know, whoever they're marketing to here, that Capcom is the one who did these things, then Capcom certainly deserves a lot of the stuff that comes their way, right? If it's on them, if they're the reason for us having tournaments, then it makes more sense maybe that they would have more control over tournaments, or that they would be able to make changes in how we do things as a scene, or that they would be able to maybe charge more regularly for our access to things in ways that sort of some other games do. I don't want any of those things to happen. I want it to be very clear that it's been the community the whole time, right, and not Capcom. And then also, the phrasing of, I believe that esports has the potential to be more than a simple fad. That to me implies that his recognition of esports is basically yesterday. That people started playing in tournaments maybe a couple of years ago. I don't know when he thinks it started, but that it's not like a long-term thing that you've been doing for almost 30 years now, and that I've been doing for 20 years now. I mean, right. Those are very different things. So I want to make it clear. I want there to be no bones about it. that it's definitely due to the community and not to Capcom or any of the other individual rights holders involved in fighting games.
Right. Yeah.
That we have a scene.
Yeah, I guess that is definitely a point of contention. That they make it sound like they don't really he doesn't bring up the community and how strong it was for them. Yeah. Because, I mean, honestly, there would be no fighting games if it wasn't for Evo. You know what I mean? Like, Evo was the thing keeping a lot of fighting games alive during that course of time. It
was the community.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And whether that was Evo or before that, right, the stuff that they ran previously, I mean, maybe somebody else would have if they hadn't done it. You know what I mean? Like, but whatever it was going to be, it was going to be on the community. It was not going to be on Capcom at that time.
Yeah.
Or again, or any of the other rights holders involved in
I mean, some of those guys did know a few of the guys at Capcom, but it was all at Capcom USA, like Tomo and those guys. And Capcom USA basically had no power, right?
Right.
Until finally Street Fighter 4, because Capcom USA owned the rights to Street Fighter, and Seth Killian kind of was able to have that power. So
thank goodness he did.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, anything else to say about that?
No.
It's definitely an interesting interview. If you haven't read it, I recommend checking it out. I put it in chat a little bit earlier. All right, let's go on to the viewer questions, though.
Sure. What do we got here?
All right, let's talk about what we got. So, I'm going to read them.
What was submitted to us this last 2 weeks of questions?
Number 1. What do you think about MK11 and Grand Blue Fantasy Versus using timed meters instead of traditional meter system? Has anything about it surprised you? 2. If the second half of the CPT happens, will there be upsets on who qualifies for Capcom Cup? Will whoever wins Capcom Cup have an asterisk in the history books? 3. How can I encourage my friends to improve and play fighting games with me? especially when they know they'll probably lose every time. 4, if you could patch one old game to your specifications, which one would it be? 5, with the success of the recent Battle of the Communities for Granblue in Japan, what are some other interesting online tournament formats we could try? And 6, what's the best FGC meme of all time?
What? Okay.
I actually can't believe that didn't win, but it didn't win. I really thought, when I was compiling these questions, I was like, well, this is the winner for sure. I better start thinking about it. But actually, it had the fewest votes.
Yes.
So,
I mean,
dang.
Yeah, I don't know. I would not have yes, actually, I think Fighting Fong Huang has the right answer. So there
Which
you go.
is that?
A very infamous tweet that was written out by someone that clearly should not have written that. That definitely doesn't seem like he would have wrote that tweet. So,
I'm just gonna have to go with no, you cannot. That's my favorite still.
Do people still remember that one?
I don't know. That's so long ago now.
I know. That was so famous for so long, I swear.
Yeah, that's still my favorite.
Oh, man. Can I put
anyway,
my arm around you?
so-
No, you may not. No, you cannot.
The one. Number 3. How can I encourage my friends to improve and play fighting games with me? Especially when they know they'll probably lose every time.
Interesting. Do you want me to go first?
Sure, yeah, go for it.
Honestly, the biggest umbrella to this question and answer is if they don't want to play, don't make them.
Yeah. This is something I think that has to come from the person.
Yes.
And if they are open to it, then that's great. And, maybe then we talk about what to do, but I definitely think that this is something that fundamentally has to come down to the person just wanting to learn, right?
Yep. So that's the number one thing, right? Because the thing is, if you find someone who clearly wants to learn and you're better at them, they are just going to have that ability to start actually processing the information you tell them. If you tell them like, okay, you have to start predicting, you got to be worried about this pattern that you're doing, and if they have that interest, that will make sense. If there's someone that you're kind of making play fighting games with you because you're trying to find a training partner and you start telling these things, it sounds insulting, it sounds intimidating, it sounds frustrating, and they're just not going to want to do it. I'm fully of the belief that if they're interested, they'll try to learn. If they're not, don't force them. Or if you want to maybe get them into it because they're kind of there, but they just feel discouraged, but because they keep losing all the time.
Okay.
Honestly, you have to just figure out how to be able to explain to them what's actually happening. And, it's a lot of what I've been trying to do with the First Attack series that I've been doing, is that I'm really trying to promote the mentality of fighting games, on how you're supposed to approach fighting, how you're supposed to figure things out in fighting games. Because it's fighting games, I mean, I've made this argument before a million times already, and I know I've had pushback on it and everything like that, but, there's nothing humanly instinctual about fighting games that work. Everything that your natural brain, when Gerald from Core Gaming put it the best when he showed that, when people get into real fights, if you don't know how to fight, you just flail, right? And he showed that little scene of Bart swinging his arms and Lisa swinging her arms at each other and everything. Yeah. That's what really happens when people don't know how to fight. They panic and they just swing. Like when you get to a real martial artist, they're just going to stand there and wait till you swing and then deflect and punch you back and stuff like that.
Right, okay.
You have to overcome that. Running away doesn't work in fighting games. Flailing doesn't work in fighting games. Everything that works in fighting games is completely counterintuitive to the human mind. Which is why, I was talking about reactions with a bunch of people in chat recently. I personally don't believe reactions is something that you can naturally learn. I think it's something that it's an innate in people, and someone's like, well, someone swung at me in the 5th grade and I reacted and blocked right away, and well, yeah, because that's like a natural human reaction, but like in fighting games that doesn't work. Like there's no natural human reaction to do uppercut motion plus punch instead of hitting standing medium kick when someone jumps at you. You know what I mean? It's like it's not quite the same thing. So fighting games are hard because they're unnatural. They're not nothing that works is what you would by default want to do in that game, in fighting games. And so that's what makes fighting games really hard. And you also have to make it so that while you're teaching them, I really honestly think you have to let them know that it's hard. I hate...
Be honest about it, right?
I hate the narrative of fighting games aren't that hard. They're really not that much harder than any... Like, I hate that narrative because I still think fighting games are harder than almost anything out there. And I don't say that as a means of saying they're deeper or they're more complicated or, like, I'm not trying to brag about it. I'm saying that's a problem with fighting games. It's one of the hardest parts about fighting games is that they are so hard and that it's such a naturally defeating kind of thing to do. You just feel bad about yourself as you lose, and you very rarely get the kind of happy satisfaction that you would in like, hey, I'm playing League of Legends with my 4 buddies and we're playing against bots and we beat the bots, yay! Like, you don't get that. Like, that doesn't exist in fighting games, and that's one of the hardest things about it. So, make sure they want to learn. Always make sure that they know what they're up against, and make sure you develop not just what you're supposed to do in the game. Like, if you present to them like, oh, with Ryu, you should be trying to do this. If you present to them more like, remember when you're playing a fighting game that, they're like, one of the lessons I always teach is there's no right answers in fighting game. Everyone's always like, how do I escape this trap? And I'm like, there's no answer, because every time you pick one solution, the opponent can pick another thing and counter that solution. If they can't, then the mix-up is useless, right? And they won't do it. And so there's no right answers in fighting games. And that's one of the hardest things, is why I always talk about how fighting games are a 2-player game. Because no matter what you do, the opponent can always come up with something that will ruin what you want to do, or that tactic you're doing is too powerful. And so try to teach them that mindset, I think, is the most important thing to do.
Well, I would say that while I agree that fighting games are hard, I don't see reason or value in saying that they're harder than other things that people try to master. It's just really hard to get good at something, right? I mean, just in general, things that are worth getting good at tend to be hard, and I think that's enough to say. So I think that it's true that it's hard, but I also think that it's important to make it clear to somebody who's coming into learning fighting games that what they are going to be doing is not what a pro level player will be doing, and that they shouldn't expect that, right? I mean, that maybe that's something to look at far down the line, but for now, like, make sure that you can do a quarter circle forward motion and concentrate on blocking in this situation. Just keep the expectations to something that is achievable rather than something that is sort of pie in the sky. I think that having a pie in the sky kind of viewpoint is more likely to lead to bad feelings and burnout. So I think that's important. And then it's also, while I definitely agree that the person just has to want to play fighting games, I think that they can be shown why it would be cool to play fighting games. Right? So somebody may think that fighting games are, without interesting stuff, or that there's nothing cool about it, or whatever it is, whatever negative viewpoint. And it's possible to overcome that. I mean, you gotta gauge whether the person is interested. They may just be not interested, and in which case, like, don't bother them. Maybe like, don't be a jerk about it. But if there's somebody who has an open mind and has the potential to be curious about it, then yeah, I mean, you could show them fun matches. You could explain to them some of the sort of basic strategy in a way that might be enticing. You could talk about how I know some people enjoy playing the more execution aspects of games and sort of how the hands work and the enjoyment of that. You know, you gotta play to the person, but I do think that it's possible that if somebody has, you know, is just curious in general, that they could be convinced that fighting games are something to play. But you know, if they're not into it, then don't bug them too much.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I mean, again.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think it's right what Axiom says is that fighting game players are competitive. Now, that's true with people who play competitive games. Not everybody who plays games wants to be competitive. I don't know that most people want to be competitive, right? But if your friend is somebody who has that kind of mindset and is looking for something or is curious, then yeah, I definitely think that it's possible to show somebody why fighting games are cool. And then it has to be up to them to want to play.
Right. And it's a tough thing, too, because if you're a player who's clearly you do know how to play fighting games, and you're playing against someone who doesn't know how to play fighting games, and you do want to make sure that, like, he's like, I feel like playing this new Grand Blue game because I like the mobile game. And he's like, okay, so you try to teach him how to play the game. Like, how do you play the game with a person like that without destroying them outright, but then also not make it feel like you're babying them? You know what I mean? Because both of them can be kind of annoying and kind of bad as the person trying to learn. Like, oh, you're going easy on me, or you're not even trying, you know, that kind of thing. Or why don't you, like, dude, I can't even move. What the hell's going on? It is a tough situation to
it's important to not be patronizing about it. I mean, it's certainly possible to teach people the basics of things that you're an expert at without coming off as patronizing. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
But finding, and this is something that will be person to person in terms of what they would find patronizing or what they would find, you know, too much. It's got to be a person to person thing. But yeah, there certainly is a middle ground in there where people will still be open to learning stuff without, you know, feeling like they can't do anything or like you're not doing anything. Right? There's definitely a middle ground.
Yeah, it's a weird situation, but I always think that, and of course it's not exclusive to fighting games. It's definitely inclusive to a lot of things. But 1v1 is always going to be harder. 1v1 is going to be harder. Like you said, everything takes a lot of work and a lot of heartbreak to get good at. But 1v1 games are hard because when you lose, you're just like, God, I suck at this. And because it's a video game, it's not like tennis where you just feel like, oh, this person knows how to hit shots better than I do. You can kind of weirdly logicize it, and it's kind of something that I've always talked about video games. And interestingly enough, that is kind of one of the good things about the hero worship mentality of, like, say, the Smash community, is that I think the Smash community recognizes more that they're not going to be able to do the things that those guys do, you know, offhand, because those guys are the gods, right? It's Hungrybox, it's Mango. Like, I can't do that stuff. And they have a more realistic expectation. I remember during Street Fighter 4, I've told the story before, that people wanted to do Justin's Rufus one-frame Link, and they're like, it's a video game, I should be able to do that. Like, if you lose in tennis, you can logicize it like, oh, that guy's just better than me because he can hit the shots better than me because he's been doing this longer. But for some reason, fighting games don't seem to convey that properly to people. And so I think that's why I always say it's one of the hardest things to get good at. It's not one of the hardest things to learn. It's one of the hardest things to continually be motivated to continue to learn. Because, you know, speaking for myself, like I said, this past weekend, I've been kind of on a low, and like, even though I'm not doing bad, like, I feel like I'm doing awful. And it's just like, at that point, you're just like, you know, I suck. I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crushing to the soul. It is very crushing to the soul.
Yeah. But right. I think many things feature that. And certainly I felt, as somebody who played a lot of RTS and a lot of fighting games back in the day, I didn't feel that one was easier or harder than the other. I felt that learning both was really hard, and that both were very unforgiving. And
well, RTS,
whether I was playing Brood War or War 3 or Third Strike or Super Turbo or whatever, it took a lot of effort.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
I mean, RTS is another one of them that fits in there. It's the one-on-one fight. Right. It's the one-on-one match kind of thing. And so it's very, very similar in that situation. The nicest thing, the only reason why I still feel like fighting games are maybe a little harder, unless you're fighting like a Zerg Rush or something like that fight and then all of a sudden you're dead like really fast. I'm assuming that's what a Zerg Rush is. You know, fighting games is like round one. Like fighting games is round one, fight, you're there. And the guy is right there and you panic is on set right away. You know, in StarCraft, at least you have time to mine. At least you have time to like kind of...
Okay, but you're not... When the beginnings of games are oftentimes the most frantic and structured at the same time.
Right.
Because you have tiny windows of seconds to get things right, and you have to guess what the opponent's going to be doing, or you have to scout and find out what they're doing, and still there's some guessing involved, and you're trying to be as open as you can with your build, but also you have an idea in mind. And
right, but
the higher wire act of that is something that isn't really in fighting games, and it's really hard.
And I understand that, and this is I don't think people understand what I'm trying to talk about. Is that yes, that's very, very difficult, but if you play the game and you lose because of that, it's one of those things that you can go, oh, okay, let me try doing it differently this way. Let me try doing it different. Oh, shoot, it's a little bit more to the point where you feel like you're still playing a video game. Whereas in a fighting game, it's like round one fight, the guy comes at you, throws you into the corner, EX scissor kicks you, and then Psycho axes a knee, and then you die, and you're like not even playing a video game anymore. You know what I mean?
I don't know,
like,
man. I think anyway.
I feel like
they're both hard.
I think it's
I just don't think it's worthwhile saying that one is harder than the other, especially when somebody's trying to get involved. I don't want to have the expectation on there and that it's easier or that it's harder.
I don't feel like, see, that's the thing is like every time someone says it to me, it sounds like I say that because I'm trying to brag that fighting games are harder. I think that fighting games are just remarkably unintuitive. I just think fighting games are like I said, there's nothing about them that is cohesive to
I agree with you, Gentle Snow. Yeah. I think it's a hard thing to talk about if you haven't done the thing. So I was never a top level StarCraft player, but I definitely was like pretty deep in the ladder for a while, and I think it's worth saying that they're both hard, and I just don't see any value or reality in saying that one is harder than the other.
Like I said, I just think it's harder to stay motivated in fighting games.
That's just on the individual person, I would say. Mm. So if you're trying to show somebody how to get into games, again, if they're not motivated to, then it's got to be up to them to be motivated for it. And I also liked what Forrest said a little bit earlier in the chat, which was that if you're the person teaching, recognize that many of us have had people who we've sort of taught some things about fighting games and they haven't stuck with it. Mm-hmm. And as the person trying to teach, you can get very invested in somebody learning the game. And while that can be good because it motivates you as the person teaching, it also can be negative because they might not stick with it. And that if they end up quitting, you could feel like that's a big loss for yourself when you don't need to view it that way.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing. I mean, Choi Sauce says, I think there tends to be a false expectation because fighting games are like learning instruments. You'll suck at first. And I don't know a lot of people like realize how badly they'll suck at first at fighting games. I don't know. It's just kind of weird about that. There's just something very weird about that. And I still remember when I was playing Tekken early on, I said this, and I know you didn't agree with this, but playing against the computer helped a lot in that game.
In Tekken?
In
sure.
Tekken,
if you're learning card games, that makes sense.
But playing against the computer in fighting games doesn't teach you anything. You know what I mean? Like that's just one of the hardest parts about it is like you can't there's very little you can glean off of actually playing fighting games. In fact, the more you play against the computer, the worse you become at fighting games, you know, in a way.
There's definitely a fine line there where I think it may be useful to learn the sort of super basics of what are the commands and, you know, what is my opponent character's options, like the super basics. Right. But then, yeah, certainly trying to build any long-term strategy that could be useful against human opponents at even a lower mid-level is not going to be used.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for sure, every single game is going to be really complicated and hard to get into, and they all have their little nuances to get into that super competitive level. But even just getting into the casual level where you're not even super competitive at all, I think is the hard part. You know, that's the place that I'm talking about. A lot of the times, a lot of the top, tactics that we're even talking about here, I feel like are the super high level stuff. You know, there's a reason why fighting games have a reputation for being button mashers. Like, nobody calls RTS mouse mashers. Nobody calls MOBAs mouse mashers. Yeah. Because when you play those games, there's something intuitive, at least, about what you're trying to do. Build orders, construct units, these kind of things. But in fighting games, if you haven't even gleaned the competitive level, it's so to the point that you even think at the highest level that people are still button mashing. That other people, like fighting game players, can sit there and go, yes, all these games are really hard. MOBAs are hard, FPSs are hard, RTSs are hard, but all those games still, until we've had to yell at them, thought that fighting games were largely button mashers. And I think that's because there's nothing intuitive about fighting games. So, I don't know. I just see it differently. I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but to me, there's a reason why there are that many people who are willing to play MOBAs and RTSs and FPSs, and yet the player base for fighting games is so much significantly smaller. There's a reason for that. And that they're all equal difficulty doesn't jive with that. That's where I'm coming from. That's where I come from.
Anyway, I think they're about the same.
Yeah.
Do you want to get to one of the other questions in here?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, I could just say, if you could patch one game to your specifications, Super Turbo, like, that's it. I would patch Super Turbo. So much to the point that I've actually wanted to go and figure out how people were making their own custom versions of it. I almost just want to go and do that just for my own enjoyment, not for anybody to play, but just to see what happens if I wanted to try, and as an experiment to myself, to see if I actually know how to balance fighting games as much as I think I do, because I think I can. And it would just be a fun experiment. It would never be an attempt to make a version to replace anything or any of that stuff. I wouldn't want
HDR.
I wouldn't want everyone to play jchensor version. I just want to do it just to kind of experiment and see how my ideas play out, because I think it would be super fun. I think it would be super fun to do. It might actually be fun to stream that too, actually.
That would be super fun, actually. Yeah,
just try to tweak Super Turbo. You know what? I'm going to do more research into that. I think that would be fun. That would be fun. And it's funny, too, because people wouldn't realize how scared I would be to give Cammy anything super good. Because, in HDR, they did give her a gun.
They basically did.
They basically gave her a gun. And I hated her. I hated her in HDR. So, trust me, I would not be buffing Cammy to that extent. She would still...
They gave her a cannon.
There you go. Good job, David. High five.
Thanks, buddy.
I didn't even have the window open. I don't even know how close that was. So
not at all. Oh, actually, it was okay.
Okay, cool.
Well, I think this will be fun, and I have written up. These posts probably still exist. I've written up huge posts on what I would do for Super Turbo and Third Strike.
Yeah.
Those are on SRK still, probably. And, I mean, they were huge. And I don't know how I would feel about them nowadays. That must have been a decade or a dozen years ago now. And maybe I'd feel differently about some things, but I suspect not too much. I would just be very hands-off. I mean, I think my changes for Third Strike were like, Chun has one Huyokusen, and Ganejin's bar is 50% longer. It was like very light, very light touch.
That's what I would do too. Yeah.
Yeah, just tiny things. Ken's fine. Don't even change anything about Ken. You know, the bottom 5 characters should get buffs. Like very light stuff. And it was the same idea for ST. You know, when HDR was in the works and we were all posting on SRK about what we wanted to see, I posted up what I wanted to see for Honda, and it was just like, give me a mix of the aspects of old Honda and new Honda that I like. That's it. Obviously, take away Stored Ochio. That's stupid.
First change I asked for. Get rid of Stored Ochio.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it should have been taken out. So yeah, I just had like a few things, and I intentionally kept it to no more than 3 changes per character, just as an absolute cap. Even if that meant that one character would still be extremely strong, or one character wouldn't be like good enough, whatever. Light touch, because these games they're volatile, you know. And even though Super Turbo and Third Strike are not super well balanced games, they
some of the worst.
They are still volatile enough in terms of tiers that making substantial changes to any character is going to really drastically change stuff. And I just don't think that they require that.
Yeah, I've the way that I've always had the philosophy now, and this wasn't true back on the SRK days when I was like, oh, you should change this, Balrog should be like this, do all these crazy things to him. Like, I would look back at a lot of the suggestions and be like, no way, like, this is not what you should be doing at all. And honestly, the real answer that I've come up with now is make the changes so much so that the characters continue to do the same thing that they do. The results are just different, or the frequency is different.
Okay.
So in other words, let Chun-Li still do crouching medium kick, hit confirm into Hoyokusen.
Totally.
Either A, change the frequency by giving her 1 bar, or 2, change the result by making it maybe do Shippu damage. Shorten the bar a little bit, make it do Shippu damage. So now she's got this crazy super. It just doesn't reward her with just you're dead, you know?
Well, I like 1 bar because Chun-Li without bar is one of the better characters in the game, but it's not the best character in the game. And if she has 1 bar, she's the best character in the game.
Right.
For sure. So for her to... The issue for me in Third Strike with Chun-Li, the biggest individual one, is that she's usually the best character in the game. So if you don't win round number 1, where she could plausibly not get super, then you're not going to win the game versus a good player, because they're going to be the best character in the game for the next 2 rounds. Because they're going to have bar for sure. So I think if she was limited to 1, there would be more interesting games about how to play against her and how to deny her meter, or how to be willing to give up the second round where she spends bar.
I was just about to say that. Like, the goal of a lot of players in Third Strike versus Chun-Li is to win round 1 and lose round 2 to a super. Just make her spend the super so that the next round you have a better chance.
Exactly.
Like, it's literally...
Anyway, I would not make these big changes to anything. And that's how it is for all the games that I care about, that I've played a lot. Because all the games that I've cared enough about to play a lot have been games that are pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
Right? They're not games that that need terribly drastic changes. They're just already pretty good anyway. And I would rather be too light in my changes than too strong.
Yep. Agreed. Was that your phone that just shook over there?
It was.
Dang, it sounded like it was coming from my place. It was weird.
It was.
That's weird. Oh, yeah, that's right. It is coming from my place.
It was, buddy.
It was. That's right. Sorry about that.
All right.
I'll pat you on the back of the chair over here.
I think that's the one that I would have picked as well.
Oh, really? Not even the MK11 Grand Blue versus meter thing?
Oh, what do I think about MK11 and Grand Blue Fantasy versus using timed meters instead of traditional meter systems? Okay. Has anything about it surprised you? Well, I can't really speak to Grand Blue on account of I haven't really played that game much. In Mortal Kombat 11, yeah, getting used to it was interesting, and I ultimately like it a lot just because it's a different aspect to things. But sure, the classic way that matches would go in NRS games and in most games would be that if you're up against a zoner who likes to throw a lot of fireballs or just be active about special moves, they're building meter while doing it. So like I went back and I watched the top 8 of EVO 2013 in Mortal Kombat 9, which is a classic set between DJT's Cyrax and a few different Cabals. I think it was Perfect Legend and ultimately Rio. I forget who else is in there. Might have been.
It just sounds funny. They had to fight a few different Cabals. Like they're just taking out like regimes, dude.
Right? Yeah, I know. Yeah. But Cabal's super threatening for many, many reasons. One of them is that he has some of the best zoning tools in the game, and whenever he does it, he builds meter.
Yep.
Which means that when you get close to him, he probably has breaker again, right? Even if you then get close and he does breaker, now he has no meter. Well, now you've gone back to zoning and he's built meter again for a breaker again. And that's just, I mean, that game's not very well balanced, so that's a problem anyway. But that same idea existed in every NRS game and in most fighting games, that the zoners will build meter while they're doing their thing. So it's just a different mindset. And I when I started out playing in MK11, as somebody trying to get in on a zoner, I would have that mindset of, I really got to capitalize like right now because they're going to get meter again for a breaker or for breakaway, and that's going to be bad news for me. So I got to make it happen right now. I can't let off. And I realized that they're just going to get the meter again anyway, and I'm just going to get my offensive meter again anyway. So I'll just do the thing, and there's no incentive for me as maybe a counter zoner in some matchups to throw fireballs if I don't need to, because it's not like I'm building meter doing it. They're not building meter doing it. I can just walk and block or walk and duck, The strategy involved is definitely different, and I like it a lot. I think that it's unique. I don't think that I would want it to be every game, because I like the traditional way that meters work as well. But I do think that it's really cool for MK11 to have it. They obviously balance the game with that in mind, and yeah, I like it a lot. But it has made differences in how I approach a bunch of different situations. Sure, I'll spend breakaway here. I don't need to worry too much about it. Like, I'm gonna get it again. I won't need to, if I'm the zoner, I won't need to get away and zone again to make sure that I have breakaway. I'm just gonna get it. It'll just be there at some point. So I'll use it. Who cares? It is definitely a different way of doing things. I think it's very interesting that there's some characters who use their defensive meter on purpose. In those cases, I think you have to be a little bit more cautious about it. But even still, I mean, you see Kung Lao players use his orbital hat, and they'll just spend both hits of the orbital hat, which costs all of your offensive and defensive meter. And they're just like, okay, I'll do it. I mean, I'll get it back. Right? I won't need to do anything to get it back. It's just going to be here at some point. And so they give it up. I do think that it's... When the game first came out, I think people thought that version of Kung Lao was weak, in part because it's so meter intensive for him to give up the hats. But that's with the mindset of meter is precious and you need to do something to get it back. But you don't. It just comes back. And that having that recognition, I think, opens up what could be good in the game for you in a way that does make the orbital hats actually pretty legit. Yeah. Again, obviously they balance the game with that in mind.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I really like it because it's the most fair meter gain out of every system I feel like kind of ever created. Because if you think about it, what usually happens there's kind of two ways to build meter. You get rewarded for being aggressive, or you get rewarded for getting beat up, right? Or both. You could do both, obviously. But when you look at the situation where someone is getting rewarded for being the offensive player and succeeding, say you don't build meter for blocking, you don't build meter for taking damage, You know, that kind of thing. You don't build meter for whiffing buttons and stuff, but you build meter for hitting the opponent, right? Because we want to reward you. The problem with that is then that means the rich get richer, right? Because if you're beating up on somebody, that means you're winning, and now you are the one with the resources. And you're being rewarded for it, but now that's really harder for the other person to do anything. It's a snowballing kind of effect. On the other side of things, if you want to reward someone for getting beat up because you want to give them the meter to be able to escape things, that's comeback mechanics, that's the ultra, and people don't kind of, you know, obviously there's a lot of grumblings about how that works as well. And so when you just have, like, if you made it so that you get rewarded for getting hit and for hitting somebody, why not just make it so the meter just goes up, right? You know? So in a weird way, I actually feel like it is one of the more fair, even kind of things to do. Yeah. So, to be honest with you, I've learned to really enjoy it. It was one of my favorite things about MK11 that, you know, you can ask people when I play Street Fighter V, a lot of times I don't spend meter because I have to make it count, and I'm scared because I don't know if I'll get it back and da-da-da. In MK11, I was just like, whatever, I'm just going to dive kick and enhance this, get more damage because it's coming back, whatever, you know. And in a way, it's a little freeing. The only problem is I don't like the lack of resource management. I do think resource management is a super fun aspect of fighting games. And one of my favorite parts of fighting games is resource management. And, you know, I liked it when old games had one meter that did a billion things. So I actually really liked how MK9 worked. Except for the fact that nobody would ever use it except for Combo Breaker because Combo Breaker was too useful. It wasn't balanced. You know, Combo Breaker should have been the 3-bar and X-Ray should have been the 2-bar.
Dang, that would have been a gigantic change.
You know, like that's how valuable they were. You know,
and Cyrax would have been even better.
Would he have?
Yeah, definitely. If there were even fewer situations where people could break out of combos.
Oh. Okay, fair enough. But, you know, that's the thing. So I love resource management. So it's weird. I agree with you. I like both of them. I don't want either one to be the norm. And I think that the way that different games are doing it, I think is really cool. I do like the fact that I can use EXs in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus and just trust that it'll be back in like 8 seconds.
Yeah,
you know?
It is cool.
So I like both. I like both systems, and they do take very different strategies. And because I mean, everybody like who knows me knows this about me. All you have to do is step in my house and see the 700 empty boxes I have in my garage and in my spare bedroom and stuff like that. I'm a pack rat. I hate throwing things away. I feel like everything will be useful at one point in time. Like if you buy let's say you buy something and it comes with a plug and the plug has a little plastic piece that covers the prongs. I'll keep that plastic piece because I feel like in the future I might be able to cut it up and use it for something fancy. Like, here's this one right here. Here's a plug prong right here that I'm holding right now. I've saved this plug prong because I taped it to my Victrix stick on the touchpad button. So it's raised above all the other buttons so I don't have to look down at the joystick to press this button. And that's why and so I'm so happy that I've kept this because I was able to do that. The tape fell off, which is why it's not on the joystick right now. But, you know, if I was able ever to glue it on there, that would work. So, like, I save everything. So, like, I would literally take this and paste it onto this button, like glue it onto this button so it would be raised so I don't have to look down at the joystick to know what button is the touchpad button. This is how I am, and that's why I'm bad at spending meter. That's why I'm bad at spending meter, because I have buyer's remorse. I have heavy buyer's remorse. And if I spend meter and it doesn't do well, then I get really sad. You know, if I spend the money on meter and it doesn't do anything, it makes me sad. So, yeah, my place is a mess because I save everything like that. And also, it's turned me into a manic recycler as well. So, Santa Monica is nice that they have the big giant recycle bins that you could just dump everything into and they'll sort it later. So seriously, like I recycle every goddamn thing that exists these days. So, I mean, I could probably start naming some of the things that I do and recycle, but I think people already think I'm crazy enough, so.
Hey, do you ever read the magazine from 2008 that's in your bathroom?
Dude, that magazine is so much earlier than 2008. It's talking about the 90210 reunion, okay?
Yeah, it says 2008 on it.
Was it 2008? God, I could have sworn it was a lot earlier than that.
There may be magazines in that pile that are from before that, but the one on top says 2008.
Okay. Let me take a look. I'm going to grab it right now.
Okay. I've looked at that magazine so many times and just done this.
It's this old Entertainment Weekly magazine from the 90210 reunion with Shannon Doherty and Jenny Garth on here. You're right, it's September 5th, 2008. I thought this was like from 90-something or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, dude. What do they talk about in this issue here? Ooh, they're talking about the Watchmen movie.
Yep, I know.
That might have potentially come out. They're talking about the Half-Blood Prince Harry Potter movie that hasn't come out yet.
Nope, excited for that one.
This is the way it works, man.
Anyway, how did we get on this?
Meter
this had to
management.
do with your meter management.
Meter man, this is
All
why
right.
I'm scared to spend meter.
Okay, all right. Well, you want to go on to more game news here?
Sure, let's do that.
Oh, we've been in 5-5 match of viewer's choice for a while.
Oh, yeah,
but all
you're
right,
right,
we'll move
you're
on to
right.
the last category here.
Okay. Fighting game news.
Fighting game news. So, in Grand Blue Fantasy versus
Dude, how
Soriz
is
and
Cor-
Djeeta are out.
How
Have you
is,
played them?
how is quarantine making me lose it when I've been doing this for the past 12 years? It's definitely not quarantine that's making me lose it. Anyways, go ahead.
Have you played Soriz and Djeeta?
I have messed with both of them a little bit. I know Soriz has a bunch of nice guard break setups that give him enough recovery time that they're meaty, that
Cool.
you can combo off of it. So he has, when he charges up, when he does his install, he gains access to an unblockable. Actually, I think he has it all the time, but it might be faster in the install. I can't remember. But normally when you guard break them, you can't really get anything off of it. But there are situations you can land it meaty enough that you can combo off of it. So I've just tried finding that myself, and I wasn't able to figure out the exact setups for it. But I just like experimenting with that.
Sure.
And then Djeeta, she's got a deadly rave combo, which is, button. And I just did that for like 40 minutes because it's just really fun. So
That makes sense.
because I was trying to, it was only during install. So because I was just trying to learn how to do it without mashing, because you can kind of go like medium, heavy. So I was just trying to learn to do it with one button press for every one of them, and there's one part. The first medium is 2 hits, so you have to kind of delay before you get to the next medium. And I figured out the timing, and once I figured out the timing, I did it like 50 times just for fun, because I just enjoy that. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, I haven't played them.
But-
Did you check the patch notes out?
The patch notes are they only change small stuff. The big thing,
Yeah.
the big patches are coming soon. The big patch is coming soon. Although they did make it so Zeta had this really bad hurt box on her crouching on her 2H that made it lose to a lot of jump attacks. So they buffed it, but they might have overdid it, because now everyone says she clearly has the best anti-air like in the game now. So
Okay,
they
wow.
might have overdid it. But again, I haven't had a chance to keep wind of how Soriz and Djeeta are doing as characters. I know a lot of people. Soriz seems to be like the current Alex. I just see a lot of people saying that he sucks, and then all these people showing footage of him demolishing everybody, and they're like,
Okay.
"Oh yeah, this character sucks," kind of thing. But I don't have enough of a pulse to know exactly where they place right now. So
Okay.
I can't get my hand in front of your chair. So Tubo told me to poke your nose, but I just.
You can't.
You're
I'm
so
sorry.
far forward that my hand can only go behind your chair.
Yep, I'm way up here in front.
All right.
Hey, news about Undernight. Kind of.
It's intriguing.
Sort of.
It's intriguing.
It is intriguing. So the battle planner Kamone Serizawa was asked about using rollback netcode on a stream. And he said, "We are still facing problems with it right now, lots of problems, but I'm doing it little by little." So, implying that sometime in the future, possibility at least, of getting rollback netcode for Undernight in Birth. Which will be great.
If that happens, I may not play any other fighting games.
That would be so cool.
Dude, seriously, I am... If they can do... Like, reading this news is just like... I'm just like, oh, God! Because if they could make Undernight play with rollback netcode, like, I would probably drop so many of the other fighting games out there because...
Go for it, man. You should play the game that you like. Yeah, for
that
sure.
game is just so much fun. Holy crap. Like I said, I played it online that one time and it was really enjoyable, but, I couldn't block half the shit that was happening. Right. So to get rollback on that, good rollback netcode on that, oh, God, like, I would be in heaven.
It's like launch SF5 netcode.
Launch SF5 netcode?
Well, actually, in some ways that may be better. What if it's current SF5 PS4 netcode?
No. No.
Just reject it.
No.
Don't even put the work in.
I mean, if it was beta Street Fighter V netcode, okay. Before they put in all the fake input lags and all that stuff like that, one of the betas, I can't remember which beta for Street Fighter V was super good.
Yeah. Anyway, RIP Ultimore patch.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, I would play all the games that I like. It's just that I can't play Undernight because online is just not good, Street Fighter V, I mean, as much as the netcode is bad, it's still better than most of the games.
It is.
Weirdly enough.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. When I've been picking up Killer Instinct again lately, and I wrote about this for our Patreon content, the articles that we do, but I picking up KI, not just because of the netcode, although that was the final one. I wanted to play games that I enjoyed. And so I thought to myself, okay, I am in my apartment. I can't go anywhere. I want to play games that I enjoy. Well, which games do I enjoy right now? I've often said if I wasn't playing MK11 or SF5, I'd be playing Soul Calibur 6. It's super great. I really like that game. I also really like BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. Those were the two that jumped out to me. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to play those games online over the internet. Yep. I just will not do that to myself.
Yep.
And so I thought to all the games that I would like to play, it's certainly more than just those two. And they just don't have experiences that are conducive to playing online at a time when we cannot meet up with each other. Mm-hmm. If I were to be able to meet up with each other, play those games, different story. But I can't right now. So I got to play a game that I enjoy, but that also has good netcode. And it's Killer Instinct.
Absolutely agree. And I even started messing with some other games just to see how they feel. On Friday, I did nothing but stream them's fighting herds. And I went through all the 6 characters. I went through the tutorial to find out, how the characters play. Holy crap, that game is creative.
Yeah.
Like, it it follows very much in line with a lot of, like, Skullgirls kind of stuff, where they just came out with some crazy stuff. So much to the point that when I went and watched some high-level footage, like, I looked at it and I was like, wow. Like, I would never be able to play this game. Because it's so mix-heavy. Arizona is ridiculous. And I was like, I would just get completely murdered by this character. That game is, like I said, the movement, the options that the characters have, the way that they design the game is really cool. And it seems really, really fun to play. But it seems scary. It seems very scary. I do want to try Punch Planet next.
I've heard really good things.
Yeah, I might want to jump back into Skullgirls. I definitely wanted to go into Killer Instinct again as well. Maybe try to relearn Killer Instinct. Yeah, and that's the hardest part. That's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to stream it, is because Anti-Particle says in the chat, I think the character design holds them fighting herds back because, it has that My Little Pony kind of, reputation kind of things like that. But, I mean, you just got to look past that, man. If it's a good fighting game, it's a good fighting game. Just
I agree with that.
Enjoy the fighting game. Fight of Gods was like super janky looking, but that was super entertaining,
It was fun.
Yeah.
It's competitive.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm trying to go through this, and I want to promote the games with good netcode at this point, because I think this is the time now to really make those games shine and stand out, because I feel like it's important. And
I definitely agree. I mean, I wanted to bring up the kind of resurgence about Killer Instinct right now. I guess it's a good segue for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people are picking it back up again. I'm one of them. I played the game for probably a good year and a half or so after it came out on Windows. Mm-hmm. And then I stopped when it felt like everybody quit. Well, I'm back to it now, like I said. I've been playing it a lot. It's not just me. A lot of other people are going back to it or are picking it up for the first time. So, like, I've been watching DeKillSage play it for the first time. He played it with, I was watching with Flux and Ray and a few other folks in New York pick it up for the first time and get pretty good at it already. It's been really cool to see. And I'm playing it on Steam, which definitely has fewer people than Windows and Xbox One do. But I'm still getting plenty of games. Like, there's still plenty of people just on random ranked. You can go on exhibition mode. There's plenty of people to play. There's still really a big scene for it. And I mentioned that I'm playing it because I like it and because netcode's good. But another reason that was one of the factors for me was that I needed to be able to learn a game without going out and talking with people about it. Because one of the ways that I like to learn a game is to like meet up with friends and we play the game and we learn it. Or I go to somebody's house who like knows the game already and they teach it to me effectively. I can't do that. So which game scenes have, good ways to learn online? It's KI. Like KI has the best community created game guide of any fighting game.
Oh, you're talking about infil.net, right?
ki.infil.net. Yeah, Infilament's site is just the best. I mean, it's got absolutely everything. It's got all the text that you need. It's got plenty of GIFs showing you what to do. It's got interactivity. It's just everything. And that plus the scene being really welcoming. And, I'm good friends with some of the people who made the game. I mean, like, they're going to be helpful for it. So it's been really nice to pick back up, and I've been really having a good time playing it.
That's cool. Okay. I mean, Infilament has been working on that site for years. Yes, might be 6 years. That might be correct, but he's definitely been working on
everything there.
Dude,
I've been playing it a lot. I'm playing General Rom, who's the best version of Zangief ever.
That's hyper fighting, but still.
No, it's definitely Rom. Rom is incredible. He's the cheapest I've ever felt using a Zangief.
Right, that's sure. What I mean, is that he's probably too good, right? To be.
Well, he's not too good in the context of that game, where every character just has incredible options. That's one of the things that I like most about it, is that what characters do I like? I like grapplers and zoners and weirdos. And when the combination of them comes in, then I'm the most happy. Every single character in this game is the weirdo. Ryu's the weirdo in this game.
Right.
Like, Jago's the weirdo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, from top to bottom, they all have zany options. And that's, for me, it's really, really fun.
Right. Well, I mean, again,
Rom's great.
One of the best things about Killer Instinct is because the combo breaker system exists, you can actually afford to make every character broken, because even when you get hit, you're still playing a mind game that's now narrowed down to similar mind game for almost every character, so you play this really intricate neutral, and even though a character's super busted, you always have a second chance to keep yourself alive. And whereas, the joke was before, slam dunk, play rock, paper, scissors to see if it counted. Like before, okay, I get what the joke means, but now the way that the game has gone, the path that it's gone, it's good.
It is good.
It is good that it's designed that way. So
for sure it is, yeah.
And
although that said, Rom can do 2 chance combos.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
say
I've
only
seen...
2 in combo mix-ups and take off 99%.
Yeah, I've seen that. I saw that.
Anyway, I'm really having fun, and it's been great to play with everybody again.
Hey, man.
Yes, Rom is definitely the Zangief of KI, and that's not. I'm not making that up. I mean, you can talk with the people who designed the game and designed the character, and they'll just be like, yeah, this is Zangief. He has Zangief's buttons. He's got focus attack. He's got level 3 focus attack. He's a command grab character. He has similar mobility. It's definitely Zangief.
Does he have kick lariat? Does he have kick lariat?
He doesn't. Well, basically, so he doesn't have lariat. It's not 3 punch or 3 kick, but he has quarter circle forward kicks. Quarter circle forward light is lower body invulnerable. Quarter circle medium kick is upper body invulnerable. Quarter circle roundhouse is full body invul, but it takes a lot more time to start up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely the best Zangief's ever been.
Oh my god.
It's ramen KI.
Yeah. Oh man.
Anyway, if anybody else is interested in picking it up, let me know.
Hey, look, I'll tell you this.
I'm just at a low level myself, picking the game back up.
If I want to play the game, I can bust out my Xbox One and I can start playing it on there because that's where I own it.
Well, of course, it's on Windows, and on top of that, it's free to play.
Right.
If you want all the characters, then you got to pay money. But
see, this is what I'm.
Check out the game for the first time. You can do free to play.
If I play Xbox One, I'm still with all of the Windows 10 community, right? So...
You are. Yeah. And it's on Steam as well, where there's, I believe, no free-to-play option. I believe Steam is you have to buy it.
Oh, okay, okay.
If you play the Windows 10 version or the Xbox One version, there's a free-to-play version.
Right. You know, it's so funny because now that I play games on my streaming station all the time, I actually use my Xbox One all the time. I use it for Netflix and Disney Plus and
Nice.
on my main TV. So there you go.
There you go.
It actually gained use.
Big news for Bloody Roar.
Pachinko machine is coming, baby.
Right, yeah. So Konami, which created that game back in the late 90s, I think, filed a trademark registration for it. And so everybody's like, wow, that means there's a new fighting game. I mean, it could, honestly. When companies file again like this, it probably signifies some intent to use it. Is that a fighting game? I don't know. And yeah, is it pachinko? Are they going to be... is there going to be a mobile game out of it? Like, it could be anything.
Okay, so...
Is there going to be a Bloody Roar character in some other game? Nobody knows.
Okay, so this is true. I just looked it up. When it showed up to UCLA the very first time, it was called Beasterizer.
Beaster? Oh, you haven't told me that yet.
Yeah, it's called Beasterizer. And I was just like, is that right? Is my memory just messed up? And I looked it up. No, that's what it was called. It was called Beasterizer in North America.
What a genius name.
How did they even get away with that, dude? Oh, man. Okay. Yeah.
All right. And then, anyway, as a lawyer, don't take too much stock in that meaning that there's a fighting game about it. But yeah, maybe some intention to use it.
Pachinko machine. It was like when Guilty Gear had that one pachinko machine where Johnny had a mustache for no reason and stuff. So, yeah.
Wow. That's all I got for game news.
Because, I mean, honestly, if you go to Japan, I mean, the pachinko machine industry there is crazy. So it's big business there. Guilty Gear, pachinko, Johnny, mustache.
Are you looking it up now?
Yeah, just so you can see how ugly he looked with that. I remember I saw it and I was like, if he comes out in the new game with this mustache, I'll be so mad. He's his beard and mustache is just so weird looking. Like, why would they do that to him?
I don't know, dude.
It doesn't look right at all. Oh, man.
Well, again, that's all I got for game news.
Okay.
In terms of some community news stuff, have you seen this new Twitter account, Perfectly Cut Fighting Game?
Yeah, it's based off of the Perfectly Cut Screams account.
It sure is.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? I think it's genius.
I mean, it's cool, I guess. It's another fun meme account.
Yeah, I think it's fun myself. I've been following that a bunch. Anyway, that's it about that. Hey, Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge is out. It's a movie, obviously based on Mortal Kombat. I haven't watched it yet, but I've been hearing good things about it. I believe it's available on Amazon, and I've heard Netflix, but I don't know if that's right.
Oh, is it
In
on
any case,
Netflix?
whatever, just Google it.
If it's on
But yeah,
Netflix, I could actually
I've heard
see it.
from people I know who are like more into MK as like lore than I am.
Yeah.
They've said that it's really good.
Cool. Okay. I'm gonna see if it's on Netflix. I'm just curious.
And then last bit of community news is that my cat got Kotaku'd.
I saw, yes. And as a result, that video has more views than anything on our channel ever.
Absolutely. Yeah, Ajax is #1. He's the most famous cat. He can open doors.
I mean, look,
He's a genius. He's a cat genius.
Let me tell you something, okay? Let me bring you down a notch here, okay? The first time I saw a cat open a door was at Chris Lee's house back in like 2004 or something, or 2003. I slept in his basement. His basement is gigantic, by the way, and I was allergic to cats.
I've been to his basement.
I was allergic to cats, so I was like scared about that, and so like I closed the door and I told Chris Lee, I was like, I'm gonna close the door, and he said, it's not going to help, and I was like, huh? And in the middle of the night, I'm sitting there lying on the bed, and I hear, and the door opens up, and in comes the cat. Now, the reason why I can say it's one-upped because that was a knob door.
Oh, you think that's so fancy? Well, so we have on our pantry, we have one of those doors. I think they're called accordion doors, but it's the kind of thing where there's a flat panel, and then to open it, you slightly tug on one of the sides, and it does like this sort of this kind of phenomenon, and then it sort of goes to the side. So he's figured out how to tug on the little knocker almost. It's like a little ring that you tug on with your human fingers, and then you push it to the side. He's figured out how to do that with the pantry as well. So he's capable of many things.
I actually have like this weird setup on my closets downstairs where I actually have one of those clips, you know, the paper clip things where I have to clip it at the top and make sure that I shove one of the ring parts onto the door so that it's harder to open, because Nathan opens up my closets and goes inside all the time. And what the crazy thing was, I have had it ringed like that for at least like 4 years now, 5 years, and he has never been able to get that closet open in like 5 years. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I need this anymore. I don't think I need to do this anymore, because he knows he can't open this closet. Right. So I took the paper clip off, and the next day the closet was open.
Wow, the next day, huh?
The next day. It just didn't, like, I don't know if he just checks it every single day of his life.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, he's been trying it every single day his entire life, and it finally worked, and he was flabbergasted.
Dude, he was like, yo! And I was like, what the hell? And so now it's clipped again. And I'm like, God damn it.
He had one day, only one.
I don't understand, man. I don't understand.
It was the most exciting day of his life.
The cats have nothing but time.
Right.
They have nothing but time.
Good boy.
Man. But yeah, no, it's awesome that your cat got Kotaku.
Anyway, thanks to Ian for putting that story up. I thought that's funny. And thanks for the nice words, people in the chat saying that the editing was good. That's nice of you. All right. Well, that's all I got for stuff that's happened. As far as upcoming things, a couple of things. Like I said, the Mortal Kombat local that we've been doing in the Valley here in LA is obviously online now. So Valley Combat Online Edition, anyone can enter because it's Mortal Kombat as long as you have a wired connection. So we're going to be playing Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and we're going to stream it on this channel. So if you're somebody who'd like to play Mortal Kombat, just hit me up on Twitter at UltraDavid, and I'm happy to get you set up. We have a little Discord that we hang out in and get games on, when we're not playing in the tournament. That'll be on Thursday. And then more MK stuff, the Mortal Kombat Pro competition, Final Combat, from season 2019 to 2020, which took place at the beginning of March, is going to be airing on Friday, April 17th on television on TBS. So
Nice.
me from the past will be on TV in the future.
And this weekend is going to be another Teppen exhibition that I'll be helping with again. We're going to give a chance for other commentators to do commentary. So myself and
Nice.
Chopstick will not be doing commentary, but we'll be doing the analyst desk this time. So,
Oh, that's so cool.
and we're going to have a couple of other people doing commentary. So that's going to be really cool. So doing a lot of
Awesome.
Teppen stuff. And this is all community Teppen stuff, by the way, too. So, which I've still been playing pretty heavily.
Yeah,
Using
that's
a
so
top
cool, man.
using a top tier deck, so like I'm actually doing well in it now.
Nice.
So
Thanks for the subscription, Ray Raw. And yeah, Zorlan, for sure, our bad players welcomed. Let me tell you about the guy who has been running these events. His name is Shankar, and he's been around in FGC forever. The second time I think we got this local together, again, organized by him, he was playing in the tournament, and he picked Kotal Khan, and he began playing Kotal Khan. And then he turned around mid-set, and he asks, hey, how do you do the totems? So, yes, the answer to the question, are bad players welcomed? Definitely.
damn, you just call out Shankar like that? Yo, dude, come on,
Definitely.
man.
I blew him up immediately. This is not like delayed blowing up that behind his back. No. He got blown up instantly. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, I guess that's all I've got as well. Like I said, I'm still playing Teppen a lot. I've been playing the Zombie Rush Zero deck, which is clearly too strong. Raku Hoha is way too good. And, but, you know, I've been winning, and it's a fun deck. It's actually a fun deck because it's very active. You gotta constantly keep playing, and that's the whole point of it. So it's pretty fun, but it's clearly busted. Although, you know, as with CCGs go, because CCGs are a little bit different than, you know, fighting games, in that when something is overpowered in a CCG, you can count on almost everybody using it. So the
Sure.
dominating decks really do define the meta. So a counter pick to the dominating decks can have real life, even if it doesn't beat the majority of the other decks out there.
Right. Makes sense.
You know, so just because, like, let's say in Super Turbo, Dalsim's the best character, because he is. He's like the second best character, right?
Sure.
And let's say people hadn't figured out that now Cammy actually dies really badly to him, but let's
Yeah.
pretend Cammy actually still beat Dalsim. That wouldn't have made her viable. You know what I mean? Because you would have still run into everybody else. But, you know, in CCGs, it's interesting because you can use a deck that's actually kind of weaker in general because it beats the best deck out there because everybody's going to be using that. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting. So, Blazing Wall Rathalos. Also in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, I'm sure nobody cares, but I'm 3 away from taking out all of the 5-star Magicites, including, I'm sorry, the 4-star Magicites, 4-star Magicites, 5-star, whatever it is, the level, including Sildra. I've beaten Sildra now, and which is a huge accomplishment. So, yeah, I think it's the 5-star Magicites. Yes, 5-star Magicites. And, dude, Morrigan is so bad. Oh, God, it makes me so sad in Teppen. It makes me really, really sad that Morrigan is bad now. And again, we talked about it earlier, Forrest. I don't know if you weren't in the chat earlier when I was talking about how I'm a Final Fantasy hipster and Final Fantasy VII Remake I just have trouble, like, trying to care. So, Record Keeper is pretty easy to get back into because they're pretty generous with things, and as long as you pull some good stuff, you can beat a lot of things. It'll take you a while before you can start beating the really, really important things, like 5-star Magicites, but you can get buffed pretty fast in that game because all the things that you used to have to buff up, like your levels and all these things like that, aren't even nearly as important as just grabbing. Like, if you just do a pull and you grab one awakening, that thing is just going to carry you for a very, very long time. Like, they made it so that it's easy to get pretty powerful. So did you 100%? I haven't put 100% in Mario Odyssey.
I have not 100%ed Mario Odyssey. I'm very slowly working on it. Like, I'll play that game once every few weeks maybe and spend a few hours doing it. So I feel like in a couple of decades I'll have it 100%ed, but
it's crazy because I was so happy to get Unist on the Switch because I was expecting to be able to play that all over the place, like in the planes and the hotels and everything like that. And because we've been quarantined and not going anywhere, I haven't even touched it on the Switch barely ever.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because I've just been up here playing Street Fighter V or training moding all the other fighting games just to see what's going on with like Djeeta and Soriz and Haomaru and Soul Calibur 6 and everything, you know. Mm-hmm. It's weird. I don't sit down there and play fighting games on while lying in bed as much as I thought I was going to. So
okay, all right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, man. Well, I guess I'm gonna skedaddle.
Yep, no problem. Thanks.
And let me know if you'd like to, play games online or get a Discord call going while we play. Maybe you mentioned earlier that talking with other people is nice, so I'm happy to do that anytime.
Yeah, I mean, I should probably try to actually... Oh, we did not talk about that. Excellent, Young. I know a lot of Japanese arcades are going through rough times because of all the quarantining.
I hadn't heard about that, but that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of arcades that are having like Save the Arcade campaigns out there to try to help them live and everything. And it's crazy because like I feel like what needs to happen here, obviously, with all this, bail out this, bail out that, what they should do is go to the banks, say, here's a bunch of money, don't charge anyone their mortgage so that they can live, so that you don't have to charge, so those people don't have to charge the people living there or running their businesses there. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's got to be something that works.
Oh, there's plenty of stuff that works, but...
Yeah.
Neither our country nor Japan, kind of government is going to be interested in that sort of stuff.
I'm scared that some of these arcades are going to close down.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about that, but that really sucks.
Okay, so Fanta says that Giuna has collected all of the funding links. So check out Giuna's Twitter, which is it's just at Giuna, or is it Giuna JP? Giuna JP. Yeah, it's Giuna JP. So JIYUNAJP. Go and check that out, and you should be able to see the links over there. There you go. So Mex Deuce just put it in the chat. Thank you very much. There you go. Yep, here we go. Right. Game Newton, Nakano, TRF. Oh man, Kohatsu, the big one. So all four of those are trying to get some help over there. Mikado hit their goal and raised 200,000 almost immediately after opening up their fundraiser. Dang.
Yen. Okay. No, dollars?
I don't know if it's dollars or yen. He wrote down
he
dollars.
Has a dollar sign in front of that 200 there on that
tweet. So Mikado is going to be okay. But yeah, the other ones, Game Newton, Nakano, TRF, which I've been to, Kohatsu, and the big one are all ones that are good to try to rescue. So there you go.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, Phoenix Force, we're not social distancing. That's right. I'm really here in James's apartment.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I was scared Like, I was supposed to visit my parents recently, and I'm really sad that I'm not going to be able to see. What the hell have you done? That I was gonna go see my parents, and then I decided to myself I just didn't want to do it because I was just scared. Because, obviously they're older, and I didn't want to.
Yeah. No, you shouldn't.
I didn't want to be an asymptomatic carrier and cause them any problems. But with David, I don't care. So, I'm just going to sit right next to him anyway. And
No, my wife and I were already taking it seriously. I know you're taking it seriously too. When we found out that domestic cats can also get it, we took it even more seriously. We already were. But it just sort of in our minds, ratcheted it up. The importance of taking it seriously, because the cats are very important to us, and I know it's the same for you. We are definitely taking it seriously.
Yeah, and Nathan's been sneezing a lot recently, and trust me, my paranoia mind is getting in there, but I'm sure he's fine. So
no, cats actually can get sick from it. Yeah, they can have lung problems and all the whole business. Dogs cannot. I mean, a dog can carry it on its fur, right? So if a stranger pets the dog and then you pet the dog, there can be a transfer. But no, the dog can't get sick and can't carry it internally.
Okay.
From what I understand.
Okay, but there was a tiger in New York City that definitely caught it. So yeah, scary times.
All right.
Scary times. All right.
Stay safe.
All right, guys. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to the Tuesday show. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekly FGC stuff and trying to make things as normal as possible. So,
Bird 'em.
I played the bird. Oh, it's muted. Okay, hang on a second. Let me unmute it. I was like, "Where's my bird? I played it." There we go.
Hey.
Dude, trust me, King Vasuki, I'm right there with you all the time. Always.
There you go, Gentle Snow. Hey, stay safe, everybody. Yep.